Good evening, everybody. It's 8:30 Eastern Time. Welcome to a special edition of Two Way. I'm Mark Halperin, reporting live from an empty room in Washington, D.C., not too far from the White House in Capitol Hill. I'm here because of what's about to happen inside the Capitol chamber. The president is leaving shortly from the White House to take the quick trip up Pennsylvania Avenue to give his speech. And while there'll be a lot of discussion tonight about what he says, how it's received in the chamber, and how Democrats sort out their intense disagreements amongst themselves about whether protesting tonight is a good idea or not, my main focus now is on reading you a historical fact. The longest delivered State of the Union, sometimes like Jimmy Carter sent one in written, but the longest one delivered, Bill Clinton, 9,190 words in 1995. It took him, he did the longest in words in 1995, and then the longest delivered in 2000, 1 hour, 28 minutes, 49 seconds. 1 hour, 28 minutes. We have reason to believe, ladies and gentlemen, we might be on the precipice of the record. Could be wrong, but there's some White House officials who think this is going to be a very long speech, that the text itself is quite sizable, longer than a Dixie Riddle Cup, shorter than War and Peace, maybe closer to the latter than the former. But with ad libs and applause, some people think this could be very long. Now, what are the implications of that? First of all, it could drive the Democratic response into tomorrow. Second, I'm pretty tired and I've only got half a Diet Pepsi left, and I don't like Diet Pepsi at all. But this hotel only has Diet Pepsi. And we'll see what happens to the energy in the room. He thinks he can hold them. You go ahead and put up the quad split because we can see coverage of the president's motorcade. So go ahead and put the coverage up. No audio, just the regular picture. Yeah. No. What's that? What are we what are we looking at? What are we listening to
I don't
there?
even know if I could give this speech in 3 hours. There's been so much
Yeah.
to talk.
All right. Kill the audio. Just put up the full video. Take me down. Anyway, because speech could be very long. And there you see on Fox, you can see the motorcade. Um, and uh, I will tell you that everyone I know who spent time with the president in the last 3 months since the election say they've never seen him happier. And there's all sorts of theories about why uh, surviving the assassination, obviously winning the election, being able to be president, not under investigation for Russia, um, watching all of these liberal democratic institutions, the media, Hollywood, academia, big corporations, um, Silicon Valley, watching them all either be flattened in terms of their power or coming to him. Um, and being in the job now, knowing how to do it. So there's a there's he's in a good mood, and it's a captive audience, right? And he has great confidence that he can hold people's attention for longer than 1 hour, 28 minutes. So this would be like going to an NBA game, knowing that Will Chamberlain holds the record for most points ever scored in an NBA game, 100 points, as you all know, did it in Hershey, PA. It'd be like going to an NBA game and saying, I have reason to believe LeBron is going to score 110 points tonight. That's what we're on the precipice of, if I may use the sports metaphor. You see the motorcade there on CNN headed up to Capitol Hill. That is when you've got a presidential lights and sirens. That's a very quick trip. I was watching since I last saw you. We signed off on Two Way tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern time, so about an hour and a half ago. I watched a lot of cable while I ate my sushi, and MSNBC was fascinating. And I honestly don't watch a lot of MSNBC normally, but I was super interested to see where they stood on this question of what the parties can do. Their reporting is the same as mine. Deep divisions. The leadership does not want Democrats to create spectacle because they think Trump will just play off of it and he'll succeed. And let's be honest, the members of the Senate and the House who are Democrats who are most likely to want to cause a scene are the ones who are most likely to be good foils for Donald Trump because they're on the far left of the party. So this is a tactical and strategic choice. And what I'm finding and what they suggested on MSNBC is it's gotten a little raw. The progressives feel they're being squelched and that it's important on this night to demonstrate to their supporters and the country that Trump does not have an open field run here, that there are people who are opposing him on a variety of ideological and other grounds. Um, but then the leaders have made the tactical decision. This is a bad idea. Just there's no winning this. Will look out of control. And within the hall, okay, there's pool cameras, right? There's all these pool cameras, and the different networks can take different shots from the choices they have, and the pool director is offering them their own choices that the pool director is making. If you think about like when somebody yelled, when the Congressman Wilson from South Carolina yelled at "You lie" to Barack Obama, you ever seen that on camera? I don't think you have, because not everything on the floor is captured, and capturing audio on the floor. So in other words, if somebody says something brilliant on the floor, they yell out some incredibly, taunting thing that really should put Trump down, nobody's going to hear it. And Trump's just going to be able to use them as a foil. So just and if they march out, same thing, like, are the cameras going to show it or not? You don't know. So there's just a rational decision that the leadership has made to say, we want to focus on the impact that Donald Trump's policies are having on the country, which is why the leadership has asked everybody in the Democratic Party to bring as their guests people who are adversely affected by cuts or threatened cuts, and with a big emphasis on veterans, and that message will be overwhelmed by stunts, signs, yelling, whistles, eggs, etc. So we'll see what happens, but that's it's a big news thing, but it's also kind of a metaphor in some ways for where the Democrats are now, which is no agreement about how to take Trump on in any serious way. So we're going to be joined, and maybe they're here. Somebody will tell me. We're going to be joined by Hogan Gidley and Dan Turntine, and they'll be part of our coverage tonight. And other people are going to join throughout the evening. Just to set the stage again, if you want to ask a question here in what I call the pregame show, please raise your electronic hand. If you're watching on X or on YouTube, you can't raise your hand, but you can adhere to our principles of peace, love, and understanding. More important tonight, maybe than ever. Thank you, Dan. You look fantastic. So if you go in the chat, don't put smack in the chat. We're getting T-shirts, by the way, made up. Lots of requests for swag. We are getting T-shirts made up, and one of them will say on the back, probably, "Don't put smack in the chat." And Eric, I hope it's okay to say that in front of your kid. Hope that's all right. And then when Trump will arrive, and then there'll be all the pageantry, right? The whole nice, "Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States," and then he'll walk out, he'll shake hands. The Speaker of the House will announce him again. There'll be more applause. So there's a lot of opportunities for gabbing between the time the president walks in the chamber and when he actually talks. So we'll keep talking then. We'll keep taking your questions, and then we'll listen to the speech. But as I've said, we'll do mystery political science theater during the speech, during the appropriate moments. Dan Hogan and I will jump in and say what we think of stuff, and then try not to step on the president ever. There's J.D. Vance. You can see take who's got the best shot? Take Foxful, if you would, for a bit. No audio. And then afterwards we'll do the post game show, and we'll watch Senator from Michigan give Ted Cruz give the response. I love on special nights like this. There's Bernie Sanders. The function of the TV anchors or commentators of identifying people. There's Elizabeth Warren, right? Just like calling out the names of people who are passing by. And it was a convention. And when I worked at ABC with Peter Jennings, there's Michael Bennett. It was a big thing. It was like Lindsey Graham. It was a big thing to know who people were and shed them out. My view was, Ed Markey, if you know who they are, you already know. If you don't know who they are, you don't care. You don't care to be told there's, Senator whatever. And yet it's so ingrained in me that I can't watch this without yelling them out. So, Dan, you should feel free to yell out too. All right, let's bring some folks in and see what people have to say. Eric, welcome in. Thanks for joining. Unmute. Tell us,
hey, Mark.
Tell us where you guys are tonight. We're good. Where are you guys tonight?
We're in St. Augustine, Florida. This is Buck. You want to say hi?
Buck, how's it going? Buck, you like watching political speeches? Be honest. How old are you, Buck? Say it again. 14?
Yeah, 14.
14.
So I have one daughter is to the way left of Dan, and she is the school president, like in 7th grade. And my son is a Trumper, and I've been trying to reform him unsuccessfully. So maybe you guys can help.
So Eric, you're not a big Trump guy?
Uh, I'm kind of like, remember Ben Nelson?
Yeah, Nebraska.
Yep. Yeah, anybody who is I don't have to agree with you. You just have to prove to be willing to cross the aisle. That's all you have to do to get my vote. And nobody does that anymore. Just be reasonable. That's the whole thing, and we can't even get to that. So,
all right, that makes sense. And I don't know if Buck can hear me or not, but Buck, why do you like Donald Trump? For some reason, I'm having trouble with Buck's audio.
Yeah, I can't hear him either.
He says it's funny watching him.
Funny watching him.
He was really excited to be on here until he got over here, and now he's all clammed up.
Buck, there's nothing to be nervous about. Kids are the stars of this platform, so you can't miss. You can't miss. Buck, who's your favorite YouTuber, Buck?
There you go.
Clown.
Or Mr.
Beast? Jesser? I don't even know what Jesser is.
Jesser.
Oh,
Jesser.
yeah.
Do you know who Jesser is, Dan?
We have 2 15-year-old boys in the house. We sure do.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, but dunk contest guy. Yeah. Okay. So I have a question. I was really offended last week at the Friday thing with Zelensky, but then I thought about it over the weekend, and this is another reason I'm not great at having political ideas, because when I get more information, I start changing my mind. I'm scientific in how I think. I'm worried about the long-term. I'm worried about all this caustic nature of politics now. I'm worried about how it affects these young ones long-term. And I don't want our society to become an overly selfish society that is very not worried about our neighbor suffering. I also don't want to be a warmonger and have, U.S. troops over in Eastern Russia. I guess my question would be to both of you guys: are you concerned the more of this sort of Trumpian vibe, as it spreads, and the Democrats have just been gaslighting us all for 4 years, really 6 years, if you go back to before the last election. I'm just concerned that we've lost the gentlemanly manner that politics was originally supposed to be.
Yeah, Eric, but well said. And as I often say in the program, you speak for tens of millions. Dan.
Yeah, I think the challenge is that the candidates are to some extent responding to the voters, to the emotions of voters. I mean, Biden, I think, expressed anger because Democrats were so angry during Trump's first term, really from the get-go, and just felt like it was a existential crisis. And I think to a lot of Trump voters, the last couple of years have been a series of poor decisions or ineptness, and they were angry. They were angry with inflation, angry with the economy, and he's channeled that successfully. And so I think Mark often says it, and I totally agree. Candidates will change their tone when it suits their electoral interest and the voters demand it. And right now, there is not a demand for compromise, whether the presidential, senatorial, or even House level.
Dan, I can't believe you said that. I've never said that in my life. I don't know what you're talking about. In all seriousness,
you always say like people will respond to when the voters want it, like on cuts or whatever.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, now I know what you're talking about. I'm sorry, Eric. What were you going to say?
Yeah, it's like the Hitler thing. When Hitler killed 6 million people. When you start calling everybody Hitler, nobody is Hitler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on one second, because they've just released the first excerpts of the president's speech as we watch the vice president come in. These are too long for me to read. Let me just read some highlights here. And it's easy to find the highlights because in typical Trump fashion, the official excerpts of the United States of America has all caps for part of it. We're just getting started. Momentum is back. Our spirit is back. Our pride is back. Our confidence is back. And the American dream is surging bigger and better than ever before. The American dream is unstoppable. And our country is on the verge of a comeback, the likes of which the world has never witnessed and perhaps will never witness again until Buck is president. It doesn't say the Buck part, but all right, just a couple more excerpts.
Your sister.
The people elected me to do the job, and I'm doing it. In fact, it has been stated by many that the first month of our presidency is the most successful in the history of the nation. This sounds a lot like Donald Trump. Uh, priority is to rescue our economy and get dramatic and immediate relief to working families. All right. So
Oh,
not high.
Mark, Elon Musk is in a suit and tie. Look at that.
Look at that.
Ooh,
Good
not
spot.
dark MAGA tonight.
Yep.
All right. This is a good excerpt. Joe Biden especially let the price of eggs get out of control, and we're working hard to get it back down. A major focus of our fight to defeat inflation is reducing energy costs. This is why my first day in office, I declared a national energy emergency. We're working on a pipeline to Alaska, historic action on critical minerals, tariffs, has launched sweeping border immigration crackdown, eliminate threats to our homeland, Ukraine, law and order. All right, here's the last excerpt. We're also once again giving our police officers the support, protection, and respect they so dearly deserve. All right, so there's the excerpt. Eric, back to you.
You know, I just want to say that, and I don't want to eat up a bunch of time with this, but that during Trump's first term, I had to basically silo off my Twitter to sports only because I could not pay attention to news from either side because everybody was so crazy. And then Biden came in. I hoped it would be like not an overcorrection back to moderate. He kind of swung too far the other direction. The only place I can go to get news is two-way. I've been here since like I've read your stuff, Mark. I've always been a follower. So I've been here since the very beginning. I just want to thank you guys again for the platform. I'm so excited about it. And I can't wait to be involved in every way I can. It's just an amazing platform. Just want to thank you guys. We don't want to take too much time up with you guys
Eric,
tonight, but thank you.
You're super nice, Buck. I hope you enjoy the speech for the policy, and I hope you enjoy the jokes because there are going to be a lot of jokes. Thank you. Both of you come back regularly, please. We basically want Buck to grow up on the two-way platform. We want to watch him like that movie, like that movie Boyhood. Like 10 years from now, we want to go live on Buck to the prom and just whatever. All right, we lost Buck there. All right, here we go. Mitchell, come on in. Tell folks who don't know where you are what's on your mind, please.
Oh, you're muted.
Mitchell should have kids with him too. Deeply disturbed.
Oh,
there you go.
The kids. Hello, Mark.
Where are the kids, man?
Kids are upstairs getting read to by mom. So.
All right. Have you quit yet?
They have not yet. They have not yet let me leave. Nope. Still waiting. Last Friday we heard that they had the list of people who had resignations approved, and then they were just doing cross-referencing of lists, making sure that people still wanted to go, which is an interesting part. That was left out, and then they're supposed to be getting out soon.
All right. For those who don't know, Mitchell works with a very high security clearance. Some would say the highest in Nebraska. And tell us what's on your mind tonight, Mitchell, as we all gather to watch President Trump. There's Hakeem Jeffries and Debbie Dingle. Go ahead.
So, one, I've been on a couple times and haven't said thank you for the platform, Dan. You're my favorite Democrat by far. And stuff. Great, love getting your insights and everything that the platform does. So ditto is to a lot of what everyone says when they hop on here.
Thank you, sir. We took it implicitly by your frequent return.
Thank you.
You like to hear.
When we brought up before it was announced that Alyssa Slotkin would be doing the response, there was a little bit of a conversation about doing something different, right? Having a live audience or having quote, real Americans. And I wanted to get your take. I know some people do not like State of the Union at all, that it speaks too much of monarchy and it's the executive coming in to lecture the legislature and we're supposed to have this separate. Anyway, I was just curious. That got me thinking, what are the other kind of legacy things in communication of politicians out to the media that you think could change? I know in the last election cycle, we had the podcast circuit as opposed to some of the more mainstream media or more debates. That seemed to be a big influence. What are some of those other historical communication methods that you could see changing up?
I'll tell you one I would like to see changed. I doubt it will happen, but I would like to see change. I think the debate format should just be the candidates at a table. There should be a moderator there who tries to keep rough time and keep people from filibustering or interrupting too much. But basically, you just sit down and they say, "Okay, go." And Dan says, Mark, I've looked closely at your energy proposals, and here's why I think they're wrong. And then Dan, respond back and forth, and just let them talk rather than having the moderators play such a big role or have the moderators choose the topic. So that's one I've long espoused when I've been involved in debates. Back when I worked in legacy media, I tried to convince everybody to do that and never won the argument. But that's one change I'd like to see. A change I think we will see, we're seeing now, which is I don't think any Democratic president is going to go back to the old ways. And I think you'll see favoritism towards, favorable news organizations and bloggers and everybody else, and say, as long as they get the word out, if it's a 10-year-old kid with an iPhone or CBS News, what does it matter? So I think will change. Dan.
Yeah, I'll pick up on that. I think the expectation now, and I think Biden tried to go backwards and it failed miserably, is that you hear from the president directly via social media more. I think the days of kind of, Ronald Reagan pioneered in the 80s as TV was growing more popular, the theory that like you'd see the president once, maybe 2 or 3 times a week with a kind of a backdrop and one message. And otherwise you heard from cabinet secretaries and the White House press secretary, whose job was to dodge and not really make news unless on occasion they wanted something to be said. I think no one really listened to the Biden administration's, cabinet very much, or they didn't penetrate into the mainstream media. They certainly didn't during some of those briefings for the right reasons. I think you expect now, and I would almost scrap the White House daily press briefing, figure out a way to go over it and out, be more creative. And I think you will expect to hear from the president, if it's not on X or other ways, in real time in English.
You saw there just a moment ago, Eric Trump and Laura Trump, who, Eric mostly focuses on the Trump business, but Laura obviously hugely involved with the RNC and now with the show on Fox. There they are again. Oh no, that's Don Jr.
And his new
newish,
bow.
Newish.
Yeah, newish, right.
Newish. Mitchell, thanks for coming in, man. We always like having you here.
Thank you.
Give our best to girls. All the kids. All right. Doug, welcome in. Tell folks who don't know where you are, what's on your mind this evening.
By the way, Mark, I noticed there's a lot of what appear to be Democratic women wearing very bright pink. And I wonder, I'm not sure what message they're sending with that. White was the suffragette. Like what are they?
I don't know. Good question. Let's Google. Somebody Google.
Yep.
Doug, go ahead.
Hey, Mark, how are you? I'm in Naples, Florida, and want to talk a little bit about tariffs. I understand, but don't honestly agree with the tariffs on Mexico, tariffs on China, but Canada. I mean, almost no fentanyl comes in from Canada. I could probably count on one hand the number of illegal Canadian aliens that are in the United States. What's this all about? Does he just hate Justin Trudeau and this is just the way to needle him? I mean, that's the only thing I can think of. Appreciate your thoughts.
Dan.
Yeah, my understanding is there is kind of more than just, a handful of fentanyl that comes in from Canada. But to your point, they're not exactly the hot haven of the flow of fentanyl. Look, I think he does it because he can. I think it's about projecting strength. I said this earlier today. He never defines ahead of time clearly and specifically what it is he seeks from the tariffs. And that's intentional. Right? He can get out of this because he'll just say, as Howard Lutnick said today, they're making progress. So we might have news tomorrow. We don't know what that means, right? But the headline will be that Trump won, Trump was tough, and Trump is getting results. And I think that's, does he want more lumber out of Canada?
Hold on. That's right. Noah found the Democratic Women's Caucus wanted people to wear pink to signal protest of Trump's policies negatively impacting women and families. Sorry, Dane, go ahead.
Yep. No, I think that kind of was getting
to the end
of my
changes. I live summers in Montreal, and my Canadian friends are just aghast at all this, and canceling trips to the U.S. And I'm not nervous about being there, but it's so comfortable, you know.
Yeah.
Start
Yeah.
trying to defend what goes on in the United States. I was in Germany last week, and same thing. I just kind of pretended to be Canadian. I just said, "No, no, I'm an American. I'm an American." You know, it's just not.
Well, I
not
would
a
I would
message.
always be proud to be an American. I'll just say it. But yeah, at times you do scratch your head about what it is we're actually accomplishing or trying to accomplish.
Doug, thanks as always for joining. Appreciate it. All right, so it's 8:55 Eastern. We think that the speech will start somewhat on time. Here comes, is this going to be the cabinet? I think this is going to be the cabinet, right? Am I right? Am I right? Am I right? No? Let's see. Here we go. I don't know who that is, and I probably should.
Either.
But
Yeah,
I don't know who that
the
is.
same thing.
All right, let's bring somebody else in while we wait for somebody we know to identify. Let's go to Mr. Porter. David Porter, welcome in. Tell folks who don't know where you are what's on your mind.
No, I like the shirt, David.
Yeah, listen,
or the sweatshirt.
I heard you guys talk about ordering shirts the other day. I ordered them for me and my buddy. We are so excited. We've been so excited for this. The election night was over the top, and that's honestly, it was amazing. So we got our sweatshirts in the other day. He was supposed to be here with me tonight, but anyway.
All right. Well, we love it. Thank you for that.
Thank you. So Devil's Lake, Oregon. I was in DC with you guys the other day, but the question is this: who is doing the planning? For like, is there one person or are there a group of people that are doing the planning on the overall, like how they're approaching all these, the Ukraine deal and all these different deals? Who is there? Somebody, is Susie the one doing that? Now I never heard Susie's name before she was announced. So you guys are the ones that know that. Is she the brains behind this, or who's the brains behind how they're making all these adjustments?
Donald John Trump.
Yeah,
that's it. That's it.
No, not it. He's in charge though. Here comes the Supreme Court. There's Justice Kavanaugh, Chief Justice Roberts, Justice Kagan. You can switch over to let's go to MSNBC, see what they're doing for a while. Because I think they're going to be on the floor more. So it depends on the topic. If it's economics, again, the president, the vice president are involved in everything. We've talked on this platform at great length about the singular role J.D. Vance is playing, at least in modern era of influence. But on economics, Scott Bessent, Howard Lutnick, Kevin Hassett, Stephen Miller on anything touching domestic policy, immigration. Stephen Miller is a big deal. And then on foreign policy, the National Security Advisor, Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense. It really depends on what it is, but
how do they manage that as a whole? That seems like a crazy.
I mean, Donald Trump's a little bit different. Bill Clinton was like this too. It's like the Oval Office is like a rolling party, and Trump is interested in anybody's point of view. Doesn't matter who you are. So if you're in there for meeting A, like I've heard this story now from multiple visitors to the White House from the private sector, like CEOs and their team. You're in the Oval Office and you're the CEO of, the Acme widgets. And the president's previous meeting is about, what to do about Netanyahu. And he'll say to the CEO of Acme widgets, hey, what do you think I should do about this problem? Like, he'll just solicit anybody's point of view. But this thing we talked about at the top, his level of carefree joy and confidence, he knows how to do the job better than he did 8 years ago. He's making the decisions, and he's so sophisticated about the news cycle that he knows he can do anything at any time to alter what people are talking about, and he loves that power, and he's able to answer all the questions.
Is there an umbrella person? Is there an umbrella over all those?
Susie's in charge of the trains and making sure that
it's a lot.
It's a lot, but it is in any White House, and in some ways it's harder with Trump because he's so footloose.
It's crazy,
but it's easier in the sense of you don't have to try to control it because he can't. You don't have to worry about like so and so wants to get in to see the president. What are you going to do? It's like, no, they'll just walk in and see the president. Now, it's not quite as loosey-goosey as it was in the first term, but
hopefully.
It's so much of it is just from his head and from the vice president's head that, it's like in a normal administration, you have like these interagency processes. Like the president's thinking he wants to turn the national parks into bowling alleys. So let's send it down to the Commerce Department and let them do a study.
Correct.
Da, 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 da. In this administration, just like president's like, let's do the bowling alley thing, and they do the bowling alley thing.
But let me ask one more question.
Yes,
So
sir.
do they coordinate? So JD was with Hannity the other day talking about the Zelensky deal, which was amazing. I'd love to go into that, but we don't have time. So do they after they have that Zelensky craziness, do they talk to him? Do they talk to everybody as they leave that room or the next day and say, hey, this is our talking points? How does that work? That's a lot. That is a lot.
The communications team debriefs the president, see what he wants to say, but this is a one-man show. It's a one-man show.
And he tells them what they have to say.
Yeah, or they read his Truth Social and then you know what to say. David, thank you for joining. Thank you for the sweatshirt. Appreciate it. All right. Dean, the glasses are phenomenal. Just
Yes.
let's be
Jack Nicholson-esque.
Let's be straight about that. And is that a giant pocket on your blouse? Is that a giant
pocket? It's just a good old Brooks Brothers shirt.
Oh, it's handsome. It's very handsome.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining. Do tell folks who don't know where you are and what's on your mind, please.
I'm in Tacoma, Washington. I'm over here on the other corner.
Yeah.
So yeah,
the other Washington.
Yeah, absolutely.
Better you got better cherries.
Oh, much better.
Yeah.
Yeah. But similar political climate over here to DC. Pretty polarized, I'd say.
Yes, sir. All over America.
Yeah.
How'd you find two-way?
I just found it on YouTube. The algorithm sent it to me, and I've been a fan of yours for a long time. And then I got listening. I tell everybody I know they got to watch this show. I tune in every morning at 6 a.m.
Amazing. Well, you're generous to do that. And when you recruit your 100th person, you'll get a no smack in the chat sweatshirt. So keep going.
All right.
What's on your mind, Dean, as we wait for the president?
Well, I just wanted to tell you, love the platform. Appreciate you, Dan. What a pleasure. Curious I know we talk a lot about the media and how it's difficult to know who to trust. I'm interested, 2 or 3 people that you and Dan have as go-to people. I know you must have a curated list of people you trust. Who are those people that you would recommend for someone like myself? I consider myself a moderate.
Yeah, hold on one second. Switch. Never mind. I wanted you to switch over to Fox because they were showing Nancy Pelosi, and she was doing interesting things. But sorry, Dean, keep going. You consider yourself a moderate?
Yeah. I voted for W twice. I voted for Obama twice. So I'm kind of all over the board. But I'm always trying to look. When I found this platform, I was like, thank God for some balanced, thoughtful conversation. And I'm wondering who else you trust, because there's a lot of flamethrowers out there.
Dan, you first.
Yeah, I don't. So I do it a little differently. Rather than having like 2 or 3 people that I trust, I actually try to read as broad a spectrum of people who are plugged into different like kind of spheres of the Democratic and Republican sides of the aisle. And I then kind of try to get a sense of how, you take the same issue. How is the right thinking about it? How is the left thinking about it? And then I try to think about electorally, how will voters and those that kind of move between the two think about it? So I literally get up at 4:30 in the morning and just start scanning across the spectrum. Some of it is even like the pulse of social media, like X, in real time. How are people reacting? Because that can get picked up then by the news organizations, and the momentum can kind of take on a life of its own. So, depending on what the topic is, and there's Melania Trump, who looks elegant as always, and just, try to then put it together. But there are few people who truly, other than Mr. Halperin, kind of can speak down that middle and respect both sides.
All right. So Dan dodged. Here comes the cabinet. Go to Fox, please, because Fox has a good shot, at least on my screen. Rubio first, Scott Bessent. There we go. Rubio, Scott Bessent. I wonder if Scott Bessent's ever been to a State of the Union. Not that this is the State of the Union, but I wonder if he ever has.
I wonder if Pete Hegseth has.
Good question. A good question. All right, Dean, I like our friend Mark Caputo, who appears here regularly. There's Bobby Kennedy. There's Lutnick. There is Sean Duffy. There's the Secretary of what is he the Secretary of? He's Secretary of
Transportation.
Transportation. Thank you.
Does Kennedy shake more hands on the D side?
He'll shake a lot of hands. He'll shake a lot of hands. I like Mark Caputo. I like Jonathan Swan of the New York Times.
Yeah.
Big fan of his. And
Maggie
a
Haberman's
woman who went from Politico to the Wall Street Journal named Meredith. Blanking on my friend Meredith's last name. Noah, back me up here. What is Meredith's last name?
McGraw.
Meredith McGraw. Thank you. Meredith McGraw. Those are three I like. They're very fair reporters. They're very hardworking. Jennifer Jacobs, who's now at CBS, who was my colleague at Bloomberg, also exceptionally fair reporter. Another one that I like. All right, so we're still watching the cabinet come in. There's Lee Zeldin. There is former Secretary Kristi Noem. Again, I've always, as I said before, I find this a charade. If you know who they are, you don't need me to tell you. And if you don't know who they are, why would you possibly care? Dean, last question for you. Ready?
Yes, sir.
Do you subscribe to any print publications, newspapers or magazines?
I don't.
Don't. All right. You're a modern man.
Not
Thank you for joining, Dean. We hope you'll come back regularly.
Okay, Pete.
Thank you so much. All right. We're still waiting for both the President of the United States and Hogan Gidley. Probably not a coincidence. Let's go to Sue. Sue's from Colorado. For those of you who don't know, I'll save her the words. Sue, welcome in. Unmute. Tell us what's on your mind, please.
Sue, you got your blue on. I like it.
Yeah.
Kentucky. Okay.
They just won big. Yay.
I would say they were up on LSU huge in the second half here.
Yeah, very big. Great game. It was just reported that out of the excerpts of Trump's speech that, he's going to blame Biden. So I'm just curious what you think of the over-under on how many times Trump is going to blame Biden for everything that is wrong now.
I think it'll be pretty high when it suits him. I mean, the irony is when Biden did that, like a month into his administration, if I recall, Trump went on social media and was like, stop blaming, take responsibility for yourself. Like, these are your problems now. So, that's not going to stop him. He's not an authentic, consistent person at all times. So, where it suits him, he'll blame him.
Sue, any other questions you want to ask?
No, well, that was basically it.
Okay.
I mean, I have other things I could say, but I don't want to take up anybody else's time.
All right, Sue, thank you. Thank you. As always, we love having you on. All right, keep bringing folks in. Tony, is Tony there? I see an empty screen. Let's see what happens. Tony's not there. Tony, you coming back? There you go. Tony, welcome back. Unmute. How's the boat, Tony?
It's nice today.
Did you have you moved it since we last talked to you?
I haven't moved it. It went down to another marina.
Okay, folks. As those of you who don't know, Tony lives on a boat, and he's got a lot going on the boat. What's on your mind this evening, sir?
Well, actually, it's for Dan. If Joe Manchin had run for president, the Democrats would have chose him. I probably would have voted for him. Is there anybody in the Senate on the Democratic side that is Manchin like?
That's thinking of running for president right now.
So that can work with people. That can work with the other side, like Manchin could.
Well, you have to separate kind of the workhorses from the show horses. People like Michael Bennett work, pretty commonly across the aisle. It's on smaller issues that don't get national attention. And there are a lot of Democrats that work with Republicans. When it comes to the bigger issues, when the bright lights are on, you get a little more of the straitjacket of your party. And in fairness to a lot of Democrats, the same thing was true for Republicans. I mean, the famous thing about Chuck Grassley, who was working with Obama on Obamacare, down to the end, who finally said, like, I can't be with you even if you give me everything I want. Like, I just can't be with you and survive. So, I mean, it happens on both sides of the aisle. Unfortunately, the last 15, 20 years.
Right. Okay. I just from just an everyday person, Manchin seemed to be more even keeled as a Democrat than run around with his hair on fire like Schumer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so was Kirsten Sinema of Arizona, who was someone that I thought was a terrific senator and wish she had, stayed, but understand why she left.
She was only one term, right?
I think a partial term, right? Didn't she
Yeah,
film
I think that's right.
term?
Yeah. She was in the House prior to that.
So I hate to do this to you, Tony, but you're trumped by the Wells girls. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining. We got to get the Wells girls in. Aaron, what's up with the girls tonight?
I think Emma wanted to tell Dan something. Do you want to tell
Emma, tell us. Emma,
you
gotta tell us.
Come on, Emma. We got all boys. Give it to me.
Tell him. She said he's so handsome.
Emma,
all right. You're
Emma,
welcome on anytime you want. Skip school, do whatever.
Emma, you're a genius with very good taste. Girls, what'd you have for dinner tonight?
What you eat?
We didn't have anything tonight, but we did have Chick-fil-A in the morning.
Chick-fil-A in the morning.
They had violin lessons today.
And what are you eating now? Is that a snack? Are you going to watch the speech tonight?
It's ice.
Ice. It's a good snack.
I like it.
Ladies, let me ask you a question. You got spring break coming up from school?
She's in kindergarten or pre-kindergarten.
So no spring break, just runs straight through. Yeah, she's got no school. All right. Well, let me ask you this. This is what happens if I ask three. I go over. What do you girls want to talk about? What's on your mind?
What do you want to talk about? Do you want to tell them about your violin lesson?
Show us how you hold the violin. I know you don't have it there, but pretend you're holding the violin. Can you do that? How do you hold it?
How do you do it? She's embarrassed.
All right. How about this? Pick up your sister and hold her like a violin. Can you do that?
Oh boy.
No. All right. Well, girls, we love having you here. Let's see what Dad has to say. Aaron, what's on your mind?
Oh, they just wanted to.
Oh, they just want to say, all right, that's good
well,
enough.
Originally, they wanted to tell Dan he was handsome, but then
all
they.
Good.
So.
And just describe the original exclamation. Was she studying him for a while? She just blurted out.
Well, she said, "Why is he smiling?" And then they were calling him the smiley guy, and she said, "The smiley guy is handsome."
All right, that's good dialogue. That is good.
Tell you what, no matter what happens tonight, I'm clipping that. I'm sending it out.
Yeah.
I'm good to go.
You girls are invited back anytime you want, and next time we'll bring you extra ice, and maybe we'll get some flavored ice for you. How about that?
Yeah, Aaron, if we get T-shirts that say "Smiley Guy," we know where the trademark's going right there.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, ladies, come back after the speech. Let us know how it is.
Y'all. Thank you.
It'll be on it after midnight, so you'll probably be up again. Aaron, thank you for sharing those two miracles with us. All right, Robert, come on in. Robert was smiling. He obviously liked the girls. Robert, tell us what's on your mind, sir. To remind people who don't know where you are.
Good to see you again in Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania, right?
Yes, so, oops.
Yeah, it's a big Dan. Like, he was at Lafayette, right? Is that?
Yes, that's right. Yep.
Correct?
Yep.
Yeah, that's
Graduate
right.
2000.
So,
yep.
Yeah. So anyway,
all right. Sorry. Hold on. Stand by.
Go ahead.
Stand by. Let's go to the audio, please.
Oh boy, here we go.
Go to the audio of the floor.
Him. It works for him. The challenge is, does he remember he's the leader of the Republican Party, and the next election is about them, and they have the tiniest majority in the House, and his approval rating will be the North Star of the midterm.
President of the United States.
Fairly muted tie by Trump standards.
Yeah, I agree. I was on the Hill today talking to senators and Senate officials, and John Thune got very high marks for staying out of trouble. People say he's done a very good job of not making news and just avoiding conflict with the president. And there he is today, trailing with Mr. Scalise. All right, let's see what Democrats shake his hand.
Oh, there's the first sign. Do you see it? This is not normal. Yeah, someone's got it right over his right shoulder there.
Is that Marjorie?
Yeah, that is with the hat.
Audio is a little weird.
Yeah,
I know why that. I know why that is. It's because of the way it's coming through. Noah, do me a favor. Just every 40 seconds, flip to a different network, just so we can get some different emphasis. I don't know if they're all taking the same shot or not.
By the way, so just for those who watch the morning meeting, Sean talked about the people who get there really early. This is why. You get in the photo, shaking his hand, hugging. People will put it up on digital ads, their social media. That's why they stand right there. That's why they do it.
Who was it? Elliot Engel? Is that who used to do it?
Oh, yeah, famously. Yeah, Al Green on the Democratic side. You didn't want to get between him and the aisle. So it's 535 people. That's valuable real estate.
As we reported this morning, not just because he was on Truth Social, but because I was in communication with someone who was talking to the president. He got up at about 4 this morning, and my guess is he had a rest because he doesn't look tired to me.
Yep.
Although he obviously has an extraordinarily good makeup artist. Not quite Planet of the Apes level, but a lot going on that face right there, as well as that hair. Look at that thing on the side. That looks like, look at that. Look at the color of his hair tonight.
It's a little more grayish than blondish.
It's like a Wilma Flintstone white gray blonde.
I mean this. I'm not trying to be mean or snarky. He's starting to thin on the top. I've noticed from some photos from the back, it is getting a little thinner. Honest. I mean, he's almost 80. It doesn't surprise me, but
all right, here he is with the justices, including Justice Kavanaugh there. Kill the audio. Kill the audio for this. This is the kind of thing Donald Trump just loves to do, right? He just loves to talk to people who normally wouldn't talk to. There's Amy Klobuchar, and here he is with the Joint Chiefs, the refashioned Joint Chiefs. All right, let's go to Fox and put the audio back up, please. Exuberant Marjorie Taylor Greene.
They're chanting USA. Is that what I see?
He became Secretary of Defense.
Yeah, they just keep fighting and fighting and pushing, and then they have the vote when they have the votes, with a lot of intense pressure on anybody wavering.
We will see a lot of standing. We'll see a lot of standing by J.D. Vance, Mike Johnson. All right, so the president gives them copies of the speech. Neither of them will rip them up Pelosi style. Now you think he's going to start, but in theory, there should be another announcement.
Yeah.
But 1 year they skipped it. I think it was under Biden. 1 year Biden just started before they re-announced him.
Yeah, Mike Johnson should gavel him in and announce.
Now, are there any Democrats standing? No. At least not too many.
Yep, you're right.
Not a great sign if you want any unity tonight.
I'm curious if he does something to throw them an olive branch. Traditionally, your first speech you do to some extent.
No. Dan, no.
That's not happening. There'll be nothing.
Nothing.
Thank you.
All right, here we go. Not re-announced. Or maybe he will be. No. You think about how remarkable this is. As somebody pointed out this morning, all of the things that have transpired since his last State of the Union address.
It's a great honor. Thank you very much. Speaker Johnson, Vice President Vance,
COVID
the
hadn't
First
started.
Lady of the United States.
I see some Democrats are standing for that.
Members of the United States Congress, thank you very much. And to my fellow citizens, America is back. 6 weeks ago, I stood beneath the dome of this Capitol and proclaimed the dawn of the golden age of America. From that moment on, it has been nothing but swift and unrelenting action to usher in the greatest and most successful era in the history of our country. We have accomplished more in 43 days than most administrations accomplished in 4 years or 8 years, and we are just getting started. I return to this chamber tonight to report that America's momentum is back, our spirit is back, our pride is back, our confidence is back, and the American dream is surging bigger and better than ever before.
This man tonight
The American dream
will break
is
the record
unstoppable,
because
and our
he will
country
pause
is
the
on
lot
verge
for
of a
applause.
comeback, the likes of which the world has never witnessed and perhaps will never witness again. There's never been anything like it.
Rashida Tlaib is holding up a whiteboard that
The
says, "That's a
presidential
lie,"
election
I'm
of
told,
November
by
5th
Twitter.
was a mandate like has not been seen in many decades. We won all 7 swing states, giving us an electoral college victory of 312 votes. We won the popular vote by big numbers and won counties in our country.
Obviously, some Democratic disruption that they're chanting over. But I don't have
Al Green just stood up and was screaming something at him in Texas.
He's already moved to impeach Donald Trump.
And won counties in our country, 2,700 to 525, on a map that reads almost completely red for Republican. Now, for the first time in modern history, more Americans believe that our country is headed in the right direction than the wrong direction. In fact, it's an astonishing record, 27 points.
He looks like he's getting angry.
The most ever.
Yep. You'll recall that Joe Biden gave a very partisan State of the Union address, and Republicans complained. Democrats did not.
Likewise, small business
Stu will be on the other
optimism
foot
saw
here.
its single largest one-month gain ever recorded, a 41-point jump.
So you see Vance calling for some Democrat to get the hook and saying he should be taken out.
Members are directed to uphold and maintain decorum in the House and to cease any further disruptions. That's your warning.
Mr. Green. Mr. Green of Texas.
Members are engaging in willful and continuing breach of decorum, and the chair is prepared to direct the Sergeant-at-Arms to restore order to the joint session.
Switch to CNN because they're taking Green.
That looks
more.
like Capitol Police moving down the, see them coming down the
To the joint session.
people standing in the aisle look like Capitol Police.
I mean, what if Green resists? They just
Yeah,
gonna drag him out. No easy answer to this.
Take your seat, sir. Take your seat. Finding that members continue to engage in willful and concerted disruption of proper decorum, the chair now directs the Sergeant at Arms to restore order.
Plays right into the Law and Order image.
Looks like he's ready to go. I don't envy these guys. It's a difficult thing.
Members are directed to uphold and maintain decorum in the House. Mr. President, you continue.
Thank you. Over the past 6 weeks, I have signed nearly 100 executive orders and
Surprised
taken more
Trump
than
didn't comment on it.
400 executive actions, a record to restore common sense, safety, optimism, and wealth all across our wonderful land. The people elected me to do the job, and I'm doing it. In fact, it has been stated by many that the first month of our presidency, it's our presidency, is the most successful in the history of our nation. By many. And what makes it even more impressive is that, do you know who number 2 is? George Washington. How about that? How about that? I don't know about that list, but we'll take it. Within hours of taking the oath of office, I declared a national emergency on our southern border, and I deployed the U.S. military and Border Patrol to repel the invasion of our country. And what a job they've done. As a result, illegal border crossings last month were by far the lowest ever recorded, ever. They heard my words and they chose not to come. Much easier that way. In comparison, under Joe Biden, the worst president in American history, there were hundreds of thousands of illegal crossings a month, and virtually all of them, including murderers,
Yeah, I guess
drug
he's not
dealers,
throwing them an
gang
olive
members,
branch.
and people from mental institutions and insane asylums, were released into our country. Who would want to do that? This is my 5th such speech to Congress. And once again, I look at the Democrats in front of me, and I realize there is absolutely nothing I can say to make them happy or to make them stand or smile or applaud. Nothing I can do.
Wow.
I could find a cure to the most devastating disease, a disease that would wipe out entire nations, or announce the answers to the greatest economy in history, or the stoppage of crime to the lowest levels ever recorded. And these people sitting right here will not clap, will not stand, and certainly will not cheer for these astronomical achievements. They won't do it, no matter what. Five times I've been up here. It's very sad, and it just shouldn't be this way.
I wonder if those placards are all the same or people have different.
I think they're different.
So Democrats sitting before me,
definition of polarizing.
for just this one night, why not join us in celebrating so many incredible wins for America? For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
It's too bad Al Green didn't pull that stunt, because this is partisan, but it almost makes eye for an eye a little.
Yeah. Well, and Biden's speech.
Yeah.
Every day, my administration is fighting to deliver the change America needs to bring a future that America deserves, and we're doing it. This is a time for big dreams and bold action. Upon taking office, I imposed an immediate freeze on all federal hiring, a freeze on all new federal regulations, and a freeze on all foreign aid. I terminated the ridiculous Green New Scam. I withdrew from the unfair Paris Climate Accord, which was costing us trillions of dollars that other countries were not paying. I withdrew from the corrupt World Health Organization. And I also withdrew from the anti-American UN Human Rights Council. We ended all of Biden's environmental restrictions that were making our country far less safe and totally unaffordable. And importantly, we ended the last administration's insane electric vehicle mandate, saving our auto workers and companies from economic destruction. To unshackle our economy, I have directed that for every one new regulation, 10 old regulations must be eliminated, just like I did in my very successful first term. And in that first term, we set records on ending unnecessary rules and regulations like no other president had done before. We ordered all federal workers to return to the office. They will either show up for work in person or be removed from their job. And we have ended weaponized government where, as an example, a sitting president is allowed to viciously prosecute his political opponent, like me. How did that work out? Not too good. Not too good. And I have stopped all government censorship and brought back free speech in America. It's back.
A lot of anger on the left over what Green did
An order making English the official
on X and in my
language of the
emails.
United States of America.
It's become common for one party to cheer and the other not, but usually there's some things that the other party cheers for. But I mean, I wonder if there's literally not a single applause for any Democrat for the president for the entire night. That would be
I think
historic.
on immigration, there will be some 2026ers who get up.
William McKinley, Mount McKinley again. Beautiful Alaska. We love Alaska. We've ended the tyranny of so-called diversity, equity, and inclusion policies all across the entire federal government and indeed the private sector and our military. And our country will be woke no longer. We believe that whether you are a doctor, an accountant, a lawyer, or an air traffic controller, you should be hired and promoted based on skill and competence, not race or gender. Very important. You should be hired based on merit. And the Supreme Court, in a brave and very powerful decision, has allowed us to do so. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. We have removed the poison of critical race theory from our public schools, and I signed an order making it the official policy of the United States government that there are only two genders, male, female. I also signed an executive order to ban men from playing in women's sports. Three years ago, Peyton McNabb was an all-star high school athlete, one of the best, preparing for a future in college sports. But when her girls' volleyball match was invaded by a male, he smashed the ball so hard in Peyton's face, causing traumatic brain injury, partially paralyzing her right side and ending her athletic career. It was a shot like she's never seen before. She's never seen anything like it. Peyton is here tonight in the gallery, and Peyton, from now on, schools will kick the men off the girls' team, or they will lose all federal funding.
So being a great television producer involves a lot of skills. Probably the most important is casting. And he knows how to do it. And you're going to see him go back to the First Lady's box again and again for just extremely well-chosen folks who strike a chord with tens of millions of Americans on really emotional issues like this one for so many.
And if you really want to see numbers, just take a look at what happened in the women's boxing, weightlifting, track and field, swimming, or cycling, where a male recently finished a long-distance race 5 hours and 14 minutes ahead of a woman for a new record by 5 hours. Broke the record by 5 hours. It's demeaning for women, and it's very bad for our country. We're not going to put up with it any longer. What I have just described is only a small fraction of the common sense revolution that is now, because of us, sweeping the entire world. Common sense has become a common theme, and we will never go back. Never. Never going to let that happen. Among my very highest priorities is to rescue our economy and get dramatic and immediate relief to working families. As you know, we inherited from the last administration an economic catastrophe and an inflation nightmare. Their policies drove up energy prices, pushed up grocery costs, and drove the necessities of life out of reach for millions and millions of Americans. They've never had anything like it. We suffered the worst inflation in 48 years, but perhaps even in the history of our country. They're not sure. As president, I'm fighting every day to reverse this damage and make America affordable again. Joe Biden especially let the price of eggs get out of control. The egg price is out of control, and we're working hard to get it back down, Secretary. Do a good job on that. You inherited a total mess from the previous administration. Do a good job. A major focus of our fight to defeat inflation is rapidly reducing the cost of energy. The previous administration cut the number of new oil and gas leases by 95%, slowed pipeline construction to a halt, and closed more than 100 power plants. We are opening up many of those power plants right now. And frankly, we have never seen anything like it. That's why on my first day in office, I declared a national energy emergency. As you've heard me say many times, we have more liquid gold under our feet than any nation on earth, and by far. And now I fully authorize the most talented team ever assembled to go and get it. It's called Drill, Baby, Drill.
So I did not get the text. Normally the text comes out by now, and I've not gotten it, so I can't tell you how far into this we are.
Natural gas pipeline in Alaska, among the largest in the world, where Japan, South Korea, and other nations want to be our partner with investments of trillions of dollars each. There's never been anything like that one. It will be truly spectacular. It's all set to go. The permitting is gotten. And later this week, I will also take historic action to dramatically expand production of critical minerals and rare earths here in the USA. To further combat inflation, we will not only be reducing the cost of energy, but will be ending the flagrant waste of taxpayer dollars. And to that end, I have created the brand new Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE. Perhaps you've heard of it. Perhaps.
What if he throws to Musk and Musk is mic'd? Thank you, Donald. Here we go.
Which is
Or
headed
just
by
calls him up.
Elon Musk, who is in the gallery tonight.
Now I want to see what the Democrats do.
Thank you, Elon. He's working very hard. He didn't need this. He didn't need this. Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Everybody here, even this side, appreciates it, I believe. They just don't want to admit that.
He's
Just
taunting him.
listen to some of the appalling waste we have already identified. $22 billion from HHS to provide free housing and cars for illegal aliens. $45 million for diversity, equity, and inclusion scholarships in Burma. $40 million to improve the social and economic inclusion of sedentary migrants. Nobody knows what that is. $8 million to promote LGBTQI+ in the African nation of Lesotho, which nobody has ever heard of. $60 million for indigenous peoples and Afro-Colombian empowerment in Central America. $60 million. $8 million for making mice transgender. This is real. $32 million for a left-wing propaganda operation in Moldova. $10 million for male circumcision in Mozambique. $20 million for the Arab Sesame Street in the Middle East. It's a program. $20 million for a program. $1.9 billion to recently created Decarbonization of Homes Committee, headed up, and we know she's involved. Just at the last moment, the money was passed over by a woman named Stacey Abrams. Have you ever heard of her? A $3.5 million consulting contract for lavish fish monitoring. $1.5 million for voter confidence in Liberia. $14 million for social cohesion in Mali. $59 million for illegal alien hotel rooms in New York City. He's a real estate developer. He's done very well. $250,000 to increase vegan local climate action innovation in Zambia. $42 million for social and behavior change in Uganda. $14 million for improving public procurement in Serbia. $47 million for improving learning outcomes in Asia. Asia's doing very well with learning. I don't know what we're doing. We should use it ourselves. And $101 million for DEI contracts at the Department of Education, the most ever paid. I didn't think it was appropriate to talk about them. They're so bad. Many more have been found out and exposed and swiftly terminated by a group of very intelligent, mostly young people, headed up by Elon, and we appreciate it. We found hundreds of billions of dollars of fraud. And we've taken back the money and reduced our debt to fight inflation and other things. Taken back a lot of that money. We got it just in time. This is just the beginning. The Government Accountability Office, a federal government office, has estimated annual fraud of over $500 billion in our nation, and we are working very hard to stop it. We're going to. We're also identifying shocking levels of incompetence and probable fraud in the Social Security program for our seniors, and that our seniors and people that we love rely on. Believe it or not, government databases list 4.7 million Social Security members from people aged 100 to 109 years old. It lists 3.6 million people from ages 110 to 119. I don't know any of them. I know some people that are rather elderly, but not quite that elderly. 3.47 million people from ages 120 to 129. 3.9 million people from ages 130 to 139. 3.5 million people from ages 140 to 149. And money is being paid to many of them, and we're searching right now. In fact, Pam, good luck. Good luck. You're going to find it. But a lot of money is paid out to people because it just keeps getting paid, and nobody does, and it really hurts Social Security and hurts our country. 1.3 million people from ages 150 to 159, and over 130,000 people, according to the Social Security databases, are age over 160 years old. We have a healthier country than I thought, Bobby. Including, to finish, 1,039 people between the ages of 220 and 229, one person between the age of 240 and 249, and one person is listed at 360 years of age, more than 100 years, more than 100 years older than our country. But we're going to find out where that money's going, and it's not going to be pretty. By slashing all of the fraud, waste, and theft we can find, we will defeat inflation, bring down mortgage rates, lower car payments and grocery prices, protect our seniors, and put more money in the pockets of American families. And today, interest rates took a beautiful drop, big, beautiful drop. It's about time. And in the near future, I want to do what has not been done in 24 years, balance the federal budget. We're going to balance it. With that goal in mind, we have developed in great detail what we are calling the Gold Card, which goes on sale very, very soon. For $5 million, we will allow the most successful job-creating people from all over the world to buy a path to U.S. citizenship. It's like the green card, but better and more sophisticated. And these people will have to pay tax in our country. They won't have to pay tax from where they came. The money that they've made, you wouldn't want to do that, but they have to pay tax, create jobs. They'll also be taking people out of colleges and paying for them so that we can keep them in our country instead of having them being forced out. Number one, at the top school, as an example, being forced out and not being allowed to stay and create tremendous numbers of jobs and great success for a company out there. So while we take out the criminals, killers, traffickers, and child predators who are allowed to enter our country under the open border policy of these people, the Democrats, the Biden administration, the open border insane policies that you've allowed to destroy our country, we will now bring in brilliant, hardworking, job-creating people. They're going to pay a lot of money, and we're going to reduce our debt with that money. Americans have given us a mandate for bold and profound change. For nearly 100 years, the federal bureaucracy has grown until it has crushed our freedoms, ballooned our deficits, and held back America's potential in every possible way. The nation founded by pioneers and risk-takers now drowns under millions and millions of pages of regulations and debt. Approvals that should take 10 days to get instead take 10 years, 15 years, and even 20 years before you're rejected. Meanwhile, we have hundreds of thousands of federal workers who have not been showing up to work. My administration will reclaim power from this unaccountable bureaucracy, and we will restore true democracy to America again. And any federal bureaucrat who resists this change will be removed from office immediately. Because we are draining the swamp. It's very simple. And the days of rule by unelected bureaucrats are over. And the next phase of our plan to deliver the greatest economy in history is for this Congress to pass tax cuts for everybody. They're in there. They're waiting for you to vote. And I'm sure that the people on my right, I don't mean the Republican right, but my right here, I'm sure you're going to vote for those tax cuts, because otherwise I don't believe the people will ever vote you into office. So I'm doing you a big favor by telling you that. But I know this group is going to be voting for the tax cuts. Thank you. It's a very, very big part of our plan. We had tremendous success in our first term with it. A very big part of our plan. We're seeking permanent income tax cuts all across the board. And to get urgently needed relief to Americans hit especially hard by inflation, I'm calling for no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security benefits for our great seniors.
So Talib's whiteboard, she just wrote, start by paying your taxes.
I think I saw on X here two Democrats walked out.
Also,
yeah,
want to make interest payments on car loans tax deductible, but only if the car is made in America.
It's weird to just sit there.
And by the way, we're going to have growth in the auto industry like nobody's ever
And I don't mean weird
seen.
bad. I'm not judging that. I'm just saying
Deals
it's a weird concept to sit and
Never
listen to
seen.
this whole
That's a
speech
combination of the election win
and just
and tariffs.
do nothing but
It's
taunt.
a beautiful word, isn't it? That, along with our other policies, will allow our auto industry to absolutely boom. It's going to boom. Spoke to the majors today, all.
Oh, it'll boom, Jerry.
The top people, and they're so excited. In fact, already numerous car companies have announced that they will be building massive automobile plants in America, with Honda just announcing a new plant in Indiana, one of the largest anywhere in the world.
You know, that's one some Democrats should stand.
But they're not.
Yeah.
I see some hands clapping maybe.
Yeah.
And this has taken place since our great victory on November 5th, a date which will hopefully go down as one of the most important in the history of our country.
That point is a little bit of a taunt.
In addition, as part of our tax cuts, we want to cut taxes on domestic production and all manufacturing. And just as we did before, we will provide 100% expensing. It will be retroactive to January 20th, 2025. And it was one of the main reasons why our tax cuts were so successful in our first term, giving us the most successful economy in the history of our country, first term. We had a great first term. If you don't make your product in America, however, under the Trump administration, you will pay a tariff, and in some cases, a rather large one. Other countries have used tariffs against us for decades, and now it's our turn to start using them against those other countries. On average, the European Union, China, Brazil, India, Mexico, and Canada, have you heard of them? And countless other nations charge us tremendously higher tariffs than we charge them. It's very unfair. India charges us auto tariffs higher than 100%. China's average tariff on our products is twice what we charge them. And South Korea's average tariff is 4 times higher. Think of that, 4 times higher. And we give so much help militarily and in so many other ways to South Korea. But that's what happens. This is happening by friend and foe. This system is not fair to the United States and never was. And so on April 2nd, I wanted to make it April 1st, but I didn't want to be accused of April Fool's Day. That's not, just one day cost us a lot of money. But we're going to do it in April. I'm a very superstitious person. April 2nd, reciprocal tariffs kick in. And whatever they tariff us, other countries, we will tariff them. That's reciprocal, back and forth. Whatever they tax us, we will tax them. If they do non-monetary tariffs, to keep us out of their market, then we will do non-monetary barriers to keep them out of our market. There's a lot of that, too. They don't even allow us in their market. We will take in trillions and trillions of dollars and create jobs like we have never seen before. I did it with China, and I did it with others, and the Biden administration couldn't do anything about it because there was so much money they couldn't do anything about it. We have been ripped off for decades by nearly every country on earth, and we will not let that happen any longer. Much has been said over the last 3 months about Mexico and Canada, but we have very large deficits with both of them. But even more importantly, they've allowed fentanyl to come into our country at levels never seen before, killing hundreds of thousands of our citizens and many very young, beautiful people, destroying families. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. They are, in effect, receiving subsidies of hundreds of billions of dollars. We pay subsidies to Canada and to Mexico of hundreds of billions of dollars, and the United States will not be doing that any longer. We're not going to do it any longer. Thanks to our America First policies we're putting into place, we have had $1.7 trillion of new investment in America in just the past few weeks. The combination of the election and our economic policies that people of SoftBank, one of the most brilliant anywhere in the world, announced a $200 billion investment. OpenAI and Oracle, Larry Ellison, announced $500 billion investment, which they wouldn't have done if Kamala had won. Apple announced $500 billion investment. Tim Cook called me. He said, I cannot spend it fast enough. It's going to be much higher than that, I believe. They'll be building their plants here instead of in China. And just yesterday, Taiwan Semiconductor, the biggest in the world, most powerful in the world, has a tremendous amount, 97% of the market, announced a $165 billion investment to build the most powerful chips on earth right here in the USA. And we're not giving them any money. Your CHIPS Act is a horrible, horrible thing. We give hundreds of billions of dollars, and it doesn't mean a thing. They take our money and they don't spend it. All that meant to them, we're giving them no money. All that was important to them was they didn't want to pay the tariffs, so they came and they're building, and many other companies are coming. We don't have to give them money. We just want to protect our businesses and our people. And they will come because they won't have to pay tariffs if they build in America. So it's
Speech has a long way to go.
You should get rid of the CHIP Act.
Haven't done
and
foreign
whatever's
policy.
left over, Mr. Speaker, you should use it to reduce debt or any other reason you want to.
MAGA is going just crazy on Twitter over how the Democrats are conducting themselves.
Our new trade policy will also be great for the American farmer. I love the farmer.
Oh, I love the farmer. Ooh, the farmer.
We'll now be selling into our home market, the USA, because nobody is going to be able to compete with you. Because there's goods that come in from other countries and companies, they're really in a bad position in so many different ways. They're uninspected. They may be very dirty and disgusting, and they come in and they pour in, and they hurt our American farmers. The tariffs will go on agricultural product coming into America, and our farmers, starting on April 2nd, it may be a little bit of an adjustment period. We had that before when I made the deal with China, $50 billion of purchases, and I said, just bear with me, and they did. They did. Probably have to bear with me again, and this will be even better. That was great. The problem with it was that Biden didn't enforce it. He didn't enforce it. $50 billion of purchases, and we were doing great, but Biden did not enforce it. and it hurt our farmers, but our farmers are going to have a field day right now. So to our farmers, have a lot of fun. I love you too. I love you too. It's all going to happen. And I have also imposed a 25% tariff on foreign aluminum, copper, lumber, and steel, because if we don't have, as an example, steel and lots of other things, we don't have a military, and frankly, we just won't have a country very long. Here today is a proud American steelworker, fantastic person from Decatur, Alabama, Jeff Denard. Has been working at the same steel plant for 27 years in a job that has allowed him to serve as the captain of his local volunteer fire department, raise 7 children with his beautiful wife, Nicole, and over the years provide a loving home for more than 40 foster children. So great, Jeff.
It's quite a bio.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Jeff. Stories like Jeff's remind us that tariffs are not just about protecting American jobs. They're about protecting the soul of our country. Tariffs are about making America rich again and making America great again, and it's happening, and it will happen rather quickly. There'll be a little disturbance, but we're okay with that. It won't be much. No, you're not. Oh. And look where Biden took us, very low, the lowest we've ever been. Jeff, I want to thank you very much, and I also want to recognize another person who has devoted herself to foster care community. She works so hard on it. A very loving person, our magnificent First Lady of the United States.
Checking his watch.
Melania's work has yielded incredible results, helping prepare our nation's future leaders as they enter the workforce. Our First Lady is joined by 2 impressive young women, very impressive. Haley Ferguson, who benefited from the First Lady's Fostering the Future initiative and is poised to complete her education and become a teacher. And Elliston Berry, who became a victim of an illicit deepfake image produced by a peer. With Elliston's help, the Senate just passed the Take It Down Act, and this is so important. Thank you very much, John. John Thune, thank you. Stand up, John.
Put up the Stephen Miller tweet in a 4th box, please.
This is very much.
Stephen Miller, White House aide. Tweet is representative of what MAG is saying now.
Thank
Not
you.
one Democrat stood up for hiding air traffic
And
controllers.
thank you to John Thune and the
based on
Senate.
skill, ending women and
Great job.
men
to criminalize the
and women's sports,
publication of such
or affirming there are only 2
images online
sexes.
is
This will be
terrible
this will
thing.
be the talking point
And
for
once it
Republicans after
passes
the
the House,
speech.
I look forward
Okay,
to
take it down.
signing that bill into law. Thank you. And I'm going to use that bill for myself, too, if you don't mind. Because nobody gets treated worse than I do online. Nobody. That's great. Thank you very much to the Senate. Thank you. But if we truly care about protecting Americans' children, no step is more crucial than securing America's borders. Over the past 4 years, 21 million people poured into the United States.
All right,
Many
Dan,
of them
let's see if
were
they applaud.
murderers, human traffickers, gang members, and other criminals from the streets of dangerous cities all throughout the world. Because of Joe Biden's insane and very dangerous open border policies, they are now strongly embedded in our country, but we are getting them out and getting them out fast.
No, I think I see one in the red there.
Yeah, applauding but not standing.
No,
And
standing.
I want to thank
standing.
Tom Homan and Christy. I want to thank you and Paul of Border Patrol. I want to thank you. What a job they've all done. Everybody, Border Patrol, ICE, law enforcement in general is incredible. We have to take care of our law enforcement. Have to.
Let's see if they stand on that
year,
one.
A brilliant 22-year-old nursing student named Laken Riley, the best in her class, admired by everybody, went out for a jog on the campus of the University of Georgia. That morning, Laken was viciously attacked, assaulted, beaten, brutalized, and horrifically murdered. Laken was stolen from us by a savage illegal alien gang member who was arrested while trespassing across Biden's open southern border and then set loose into the United States under the heartless policies of that failed administration. It was indeed a failed administration. He had then been arrested and released in a Democrat-run sanctuary city, a disaster, before ending the life of this beautiful young angel. With us this evening are Laken's beloved mother, Allison, and her sister, Lauren. Last year, I told Laken's grieving parents that we would ensure their daughter would not have died in vain. That's why the very first bill I signed into law as your 47th president mandates the detention of all dangerous criminal aliens who threaten public safety. It's a very strong, powerful act.
Yeah, not one stood.
It's called the Laken-Riley Act. So Allison and Lauren, America will never, ever forget our beautiful Laken Hope Riley. Thank you very much. Since taking office, my administration has launched the most sweeping border and immigration crackdown in American history, and we quickly achieved the lowest numbers of illegal border crossers ever recorded. Thank you. The media and our friends in the Democrat Party kept saying we needed new legislation, we must have legislation to secure the border. But it turned out that all we really needed was a new president. Thank you. Joe Biden didn't just open our borders, he flew illegal aliens over them to overwhelm our schools, hospitals, and communities throughout the country. Entire towns like Aurora, Colorado, and Springfield, Ohio, buckled under the weight of the migrant occupation and corruption like nobody's ever seen before. Beautiful towns destroyed. Now, just as I promised in my inaugural address, we are achieving the great liberation of America. But there still is much work to be done. Here tonight is a woman I have gotten to know, Alexis Nungary from Houston. wonderful woman. Last June, Alexis's 12-year-old daughter, her precious Jocelyn, walked to a nearby convenience store. She was kidnapped, tied up, assaulted for 2 hours under a bridge, and horrifically murdered. Arrested and charged with this heinous crime are 2 illegal alien monsters from Venezuela, released into America by the last administration through their ridiculous open border. The death of this beautiful 12-year-old girl and the agony of her mother and family touched our entire nation greatly. Alexis, I promised that we would always remember your daughter, your magnificent daughter, and earlier tonight I signed an order keeping my word to you. One thing I have learned about Jocelyn is that she loved animals so much. She loved nature. Across Galveston Bay, from where Jocelyn lived in Houston, you will find a magnificent national wildlife refuge, a pristine, peaceful, 34,000-acre sanctuary for all of God's creatures on the edge of the Gulf of America. Alexis, moments ago, I formally renamed that refuge in loving memory of your beautiful daughter, Jocelyn. So, Mr. Vice President, if you would, may I have the order? Thank you very much. All 3 savages charged with Jocelyn and Lakin's murders were members of the Venezuelan prison gang, the toughest gang, they say, in the world, known as Tren de Aragua. 2 weeks ago, I officially designated this gang, along with MS-13 and the bloodthirsty Mexican drug cartels, as foreign terrorist organizations. They are now officially in the same category as ISIS, and that's not good for them. Countless thousands of these terrorists were welcomed into the U.S. by the Biden administration. But now every last one will be rounded up and forcibly removed from our country, or, if they're too dangerous, put in jails, standing trial in this country, because we don't want them to come back ever. With us this evening is a warrior on the front lines of that battle, Border Patrol Agent Roberto Ortiz. Great guy. In January, Roberto and another agent were patrolling by the Rio Grande near an area known as Cartel Island. Doesn't sound too nice to me. When heavily armed gunmen started shooting at them, Roberto saw that his partner was totally exposed, at great danger, and he leapt into action, returning fire and providing crucial seconds for his fellow agent to seek safety, just barely. I have some of the prints of that event, and it was not good. Agent Ortiz, we salute you for your great courage and for your line of fire that you took and for the bravery that you showed. We honor you, and we will always honor you. Thank you, Roberto, very much. Thank you, Roberto. And I actually got to know him on my many calls to the border. He's a great, great gentleman. The territory to the immediate south of our border is now dominated entirely by criminal cartels that murder, rape, torture, and exercise total control. They have total control over a whole nation, posing a grave threat to our national security. The cartels are waging war on America, and it's time for America to wage war on the cartels, which we are doing. Five nights ago, Mexican authorities, because of our tariff policies being imposed on them, think of this, handed over to us 29 of the biggest cartel leaders in their country. That has never happened before. They want to make us happy. First time ever. But we need Mexico and Canada to do much more than they've done, and they have to stop the fentanyl and drugs pouring into the USA. They're going to stop it. I have sent Congress a detailed funding request laying out exactly how we will eliminate these threats to protect our homeland and complete the largest deportation operation in American history, larger even than current record holder President Dwight D. Eisenhower, a moderate man, but someone who believed very strongly in borders. Americans expect Congress to send me this funding without delay so I can sign it into law. So, Mr. Speaker, John Thune, both of you, I hope you're going to be able to do that, Mr. Speaker. Thank you. Mr. Leader, thank you. Thank you very much. And let's get it to me. I'll sign it so fast, you won't even believe it. And as we reclaim our sovereignty, we must also bring back law and order to our cities and towns. In recent years, our justice system has been turned upside down by radical left lunatics. Many jurisdictions virtually ceased enforcing the law against dangerous repeat offenders while weaponizing law enforcement against political opponents like me. My administration has acted swiftly and decisively to restore fair, equal, and impartial justice under the constitutional rule of law, starting at the FBI and the DOJ. Pam, good luck. Cash, wherever you may be, good luck. Good luck. Pam Bond. Good luck. So important. Going to do a great job. Cash, thank you. Thank you, Cash. They've already started very strong. They're going to do a fantastic job. You're going to be very proud of them. We're also once again giving our police officers the support, protection, and respect they so dearly deserve. They have to get it. They have such a hard, dangerous job, but we're going to make it less dangerous. The problem is the bad guys don't respect the law, but they're starting to respect it, and they soon will respect it. This also includes our great fire departments throughout the country. Our firemen and women are unbelievable people, and we'll never forget them. And besides that, they voted for me in record numbers, so I have no choice.
Kill the audio for a second. The Democrats are having a little bit of a freak out. Some of the moderate Democrats, both members of Congress and others, are very concerned about how this is going to be covered because of the lack of standing, even for Lake and Riley's family. And Republicans are united in also believing that's going to be the story of the night. So we'll talk more about it at the end, but I've received some extraordinary messages including from some members on the floor. Go ahead and turn it back up, please.
Had 21 prior arrests, and they were rough arrests, too. He was a real bad one. The thug in the seat next to him had 14 prior arrests. and went by the name of Killer. He was Killer. He killed other people, they say, a lot of them. I attended Officer Diller's service, and when I met his wife and one-year-old son, Ryan, it was very inspirational, actually. His widow's name is Stephanie, and she is here tonight. Stephanie, thank you very much, Stephanie. Thank you very much.
I wonder, Mark, because I'm seeing some similar chatter, if some Democrats are going to break this here and get up for one of these families or something to just.
They don't seem to be. They seem to be locked in.
To make sure that Ryan knows his dad was a true hero, New York's finest, and we're going to get these cold-blooded killers and repeat offenders off our streets, and we're going to do it fast. Got to stop it. They get out with 28 arrests. They push people into subway trains. They hit people over the head, back of the head with baseball bats. We got to get them out of here. I've already signed an executive order requiring a mandatory death penalty for anyone who murders a police officer. And tonight I'm asking Congress to pass that policy into permanent law.
I mean, what about Schumer and Jeffries? Couldn't they lead people to stand up for this?
I mean, they got to be seeing the same stuff online. I'm just surprised it's even within the party. They're saying, what are you doing?
I was told no one has stood since 10% stood for the First Lady when she entered. Literally no one. Told by somebody on the floor.
They don't want to be killed. We're not going to let them be killed. Joining us in the gallery tonight is a young man who truly loves our police. His name is DJ Daniel. He is 13 years old, and he has always dreamed of becoming a police officer. But in 2018, DJ was diagnosed with brain cancer. The doctors gave him 5 months at most to live. That was more than 6 years ago. Since that time, DJ and his dad have been on a quest to make his dream come true, and DJ has been sworn in as an honorary law enforcement officer, actually a number of times. The police love him, the police departments love him. And tonight, DJ, we're going to do you the biggest honor of them all. I am asking our new Secret Service Director, Sean Curran, to officially make you an agent of the United States Secret Service.
Okay, Democrats not going to plug for
this.
this.
If this doesn't do it, just go home.
Come on, come on.
Thank you, DJ. DJ's doctors believe his cancer likely came from a chemical he was exposed to when he was younger. Since 1975, rates of child cancer have increased by more than 40%. Reversing this trend is one of the top priorities for our new presidential commission to make America healthy again, chaired by our new Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy, Jr.
No, how long has this speech been going on? Hour and 20?
Yeah, that's a rough. It's really long.
And what did I say Clinton's record was?
They won 11.
With the name Kennedy, you would have thought everybody over here would have been cheering. How quickly they forget. Our goal is to get toxins out of our environment, poisons out of our food supply, and keep our children healthy and strong. As an example, not long ago,
1 hour
you can't
28
even
was the
believe
record.
these numbers.
So we're going
One
to
in
shatter that, right?
10,000 children had
Oh, yeah.
autism. 1 in 10,000. And now it's 1 in 36. There's something wrong. 1 in 36. Think of that. So we're going to find out what it is, and there's nobody better than Bobby and all of the people that are working with you. You have the best to figure out what is going on. Okay, Bobby? Good luck. It's a very important job. Thank you. Go get 'em. Thank you. My administration is also working to protect our children from toxic ideologies in our schools. A few years ago, January Littlejohn and her husband discovered that their daughter's school had secretly socially transitioned their 13-year-old little girl. Teachers and administrators conspired to deceive January and her husband while encouraging her daughter to use a new name and pronouns. They, them pronoun, actually, all without telling January, who is here tonight and is now a courageous advocate against this form of child abuse. January, thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Stories like this are why, shortly after taking office, I signed an executive order banning public schools from indoctrinating our children with transgender ideology. I also signed an order to cut off all taxpayer funding to any institution that engages in the sexual mutilation of our youth. And now I want Congress to pass a bill permanently banning and criminalizing sex changes on children and forever ending the lie that any child is trapped in the wrong body. This is a big lie.
Oh, it's a big lie, Jerry.
And our message to every child in America is that you are perfect exactly the way God made you. Because we're getting wokeness out of our schools and out of our military, and it's already out, and it's out of our society. We don't want it. Wokeness is trouble. Wokeness is bad. It's gone. It's gone. And we feel so much better for it, don't we? Don't we feel better? Our service members won't be activists and ideologues. They will be fighters and warriors. They will fight for our country. And Pete, congratulations. Secretary of Defense, congratulations. And he's not big into the woke movement, I can tell you. I know him well. I am pleased to report that in January, the U.S. Army had its single best recruiting month in 15 years, and that all armed services are having among the best recruiting results ever in the history of our services. What a difference. And you know, it was just a few months ago where the results were exactly the opposite. We couldn't recruit anywhere. We couldn't recruit. Now we're having the best results just about that we've ever had. What a tremendous turnaround. It's really a beautiful thing to see. People love our country again. It's very simple. They love our country, and they love being in our military again. So it's a great thing, and thank you very much.
He's not to foreign policy yet, so he is going to break the all-time record.
We're joined tonight by a young man, Jason Hartley, who knows the weight of that call of duty. Jason's father, grandfather, and great-grandfather all wore the uniform. Jason tragically lost his dad, who was also a Los Angeles County Sheriff's deputy when he was just a boy, and now he wants to carry on the family legacy of service. Jason is a senior in high school, a 6-letter varsity athlete, a really good athlete, they say, a brilliant student with a 4.46, that's good, GPA. And his greatest dream is to attend the U.S. Military Academy at West Point. And Jason, that's a very big deal getting in. That's a hard one to get into. But
I go back to why
I'm
can't the
pleased
leaders
to inform you
stand
that
up?
your application has been accepted. You will soon be joining the Corps of Cadets.
It's all casting. It's all casting.
Thank you. Jason, you're going to be on the long gray line, Jason. As Commander-in-Chief, my focus is on building the most powerful military of the future. As a first step, I'm asking Congress to fund a state-of-the-art Golden Dome missile defense shield to protect our homeland, all made in the USA. And Ronald Reagan wanted to do it long ago, but the technology just wasn't there, not even close. But now we have the technology. It's incredible, actually. And other places, they have it. Israel has it. Other places have it. And the United States should have it too, right, Tim, right? They should have it too. So I want to thank you. But it's a very, very important. This is a very dangerous world. We should have it. We want to be protected, and we're going to protect our citizens like never before. To boost our defense industrial base, we are also going to resurrect the American shipbuilding industry, including commercial shipbuilding and military shipbuilding. And for that purpose, I am announcing tonight that we will create a new Office of Shipbuilding in the White House and offer special tax incentives to bring this industry home to America where it belongs. We used to make so many ships. We don't make them anymore very much, but we're going to make them very fast, very soon. It will have a huge impact. To further enhance our national security, my administration will be reclaiming the Panama Canal, and we've already started doing it. Just today, a large American company announced they are buying both ports around the Panama Canal and lots of other things having to do with the Panama Canal and a couple of other canals. The Panama Canal was built by Americans for Americans, not for others. but others could use it. But it was built at tremendous cost of American blood and treasure. 38,000 workers died building the Panama Canal. They died of malaria. They died of snake bites and mosquitoes. Not a nice place to work. They paid them very highly to go there, knowing there was a 25% chance that they would die. The most expensive project also that was ever built in our country's history, if you bring it up to modern day costs. It was given away by the Carter administration for $1, but that agreement has been violated very severely. We didn't give it to China. We gave it to Panama, and we're taking it back. And we have Marco Rubio in charge. Good luck, Marco. Now, we know who to blame if anything goes wrong. Marco's been amazing, and he's going to do a great job. Think of it. He got 100 votes. You know, he was approved with actually 99, but the 100th was this gentleman, and I feel very certain. So let's assume he got 100 votes. And I'm either very, very happy about that or I'm very concerned about it. But he's already proven. I mean, he's a great gentleman. He's respected by everybody, and we appreciate you voting for Marco. He's going to do a fantastic job. Thank you. Thank you. He's doing a great job. Great job. And I also have a message tonight for the incredible people of Greenland. We strongly support your right to determine your own future. And if you choose, we welcome you into the United States of America. We need Greenland for national security and even international security, and we're working with everybody involved to try and get it. But we need it really for international world security, and I think we're going to get it. One way or the other, we're going to get it. We will keep you safe. We will make you rich, and together we will take Greenland to heights like you have never thought possible before. It's a very small population, but very, very large piece of land and very, very important for military security. America is once again standing strong against the forces of radical Islamic terrorism. 3.5 years ago, ISIS terrorists killed 13 American service members and countless others in the Abbey Gate bombing during the disastrous and incompetent withdrawal from Afghanistan. Not that they were withdrawing, it was the way they withdrew. Perhaps the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. Tonight, I am pleased to announce that we have just apprehended the top terrorist responsible for that atrocity, and he is right now on his way here to face the swift sword of American justice.
Seriously, they just apprehended him? Time for this speech? Need to learn more about that. Is that Democrats up, Dan, or is that no? It's all
No, I see hands clapping.
Yes, I'm told there've been some clapping, like for Lake and Riley's family.
Yeah,
And
I can
wanna
see it in the
thank
bottom right of the
especially
screen.
The government of Pakistan for helping arrest this monster.
I
This
haven't
was a
seen
very
any
momentous
report of
day
anyone
for those
standing
13
still.
families who I
No,
actually got
there
to
hasn't
Even the
been.
boy with cancer.
Most of them,
Yeah.
whose children were murdered, and the many people that were so badly, over 42 people, so badly injured on that fateful day in Afghanistan. What a horrible day. Such incompetence was shown that when Putin saw what happened, I guess he said, wow, maybe this is my chance. That's how bad it was. Should have never happened. Grossly incompetent people. I spoke to many of the parents and loved ones, and they're all in our hearts tonight. Just spoke to them on the phone. We had a big call. Every one of them called, and everybody was on the line, and they did nothing but cry with happiness. They were very happy, as happy as you can be under those circumstances. Their child, brother, sister, son, daughter was killed for for no reason whatsoever. In the Middle East, we're bringing back our hostages from Gaza. In my first term, we achieved one of the most groundbreaking peace agreements in generations, the Abraham Accords. And now we're going to build on that foundation to create a more peaceful and prosperous future for the entire region. A lot of things are happening in the Middle East. People have been talking about that so much lately with everything going on with Ukraine and Russia. But a lot of things are happening in the Middle East. It's a rough neighborhood, actually. I'm also working tirelessly to end the savage conflict in Ukraine. Millions of Ukrainians and Russians have been needlessly killed or wounded in this horrific and brutal conflict with no end in sight. The United States has sent hundreds of billions of dollars to support Ukraine's defense with no security, with no anything. Do you want to keep it going for another 5 years? Yeah, you would say Pocahontas says yes. $2,000 people are being killed every single week. More than that. They're Russian young people. They're Ukrainian young people. They're not Americans. But I want it to stop. Meanwhile, Europe has sadly spent more money buying Russian oil and gas than they have spent on defending Ukraine, by far. Think of that. They've spent more buying Russian oil and gas than they have defending. And we've spent perhaps $350 billion, like taking candy from a baby. That's what happened. And they've spent $100 billion. What a difference that is. And we have an ocean separating us, and they don't. But we're getting along very well with them, and lots of good things are happening. Biden has authorized more money in this fight than Europe has spent, by billions and billions of dollars. It's hard to believe that they wouldn't have stopped it and said, at some point, come on, let's equalize. You got to be equal to us. But that didn't happen. Earlier today, I received an important letter from President Zelensky of Ukraine. The letter reads, Ukraine is ready to come to the negotiating table as soon as possible to bring lasting peace closer. Nobody wants peace more than the Ukrainians, he said. My team and I stand ready to work under President Trump's strong leadership to get a peace that lasts. We do really value how much America has done to help Ukraine maintain its sovereignty and independence. Regarding the agreement on minerals and security, Ukraine is ready to sign it at any time that is convenient for you. I appreciate that he sent this letter, just got it a little while ago. Simultaneously, we've had serious discussions with Russia and have received strong signals that they are ready for peace. Wouldn't that be beautiful? Wouldn't that be beautiful?
So Democrats are walking out of the chamber now. I'm not sure what it's time to, but a lot of prominent Democrats have walked out. Jayapal, Omar, Raskin, Lufgren, Pocan, Doggett have all walked out reportedly.
It's time to end this senseless war. If you want to end wars, you have to talk to both sides. Nearly 4 years ago, amid rising tensions, a history teacher named Mark Fogel was detained in Russia and sentenced to 14 years in a penal colony. Rough stuff. The previous administration barely lifted a finger to help him. They knew he was innocent, but they had no idea where to begin. But last summer, I promised his 95-year-old mother, Malphine, that we would bring her boy safely back home. After 22 days in office, I did just that, and they are here tonight. To Mark and his great mom, we are delighted to have you safe and sound and with us. As fate would have it, Mark Fogel was born in a small rural town in Butler, Pennsylvania. Have you heard of it? Where his mother has lived for the past 78 years. I just happened to go there last July 13th for a rally. That was not pleasant. And that is where I met his beautiful mom right before I walked onto that stage. And I told her I would not forget what she said about her son. And I never did I? Never forgot. Less than 10 minutes later, at that same rally, gunfire rang out, and a sick and deranged assassin unloaded 8 bullets from his sniper's perch into a crowd of many thousands of people. My life was saved by a fraction of an inch, but some were not so lucky. Corey Comparator was a firefighter, a veteran, a Christian, a husband, a devoted father, and above all, a protector. When the sound of gunshots pierced the air, it was a horrible sound. Corey knew instantly what it was and what to do. He threw himself on top of his wife and daughters and shielded them from the bullets with his own body. Corey was hit really hard. You know the story from there. He sacrificed his life to save theirs. 2 others, very fine people, were also seriously hit. But thankfully, with the help of 2 great country doctors, we thought they were gone, and they were saved. So those doctors had great talent. We're joined by Corey's wife, Helen, who was his high school sweetheart, and their 2 beloved daughters, Allison and Kaylee. Thank you. To Helen, Allison, and Kaylee, Corey is looking down on his 3 beautiful ladies right now, and he is cheering you on. He loves you. He is cheering you on. Corey was taken from us much too soon, but his destiny was to leave us all with a shining example of the selfless devotion of a true American patriot. It was love like Corey's that built our country, and it's love like Corey's that is going to make our country more majestic than ever before. I believe that my life was saved that day in Butler for a very good reason. I was saved by God to make America great again. I believe that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. From the patriots of Lexington and Concord to the heroes of Gettysburg and Normandy, from the warriors who crossed the Delaware to the trailblazers who climbed the Rockies, and from the legends who soared at Kitty Hawk to the astronauts who touched the moon, Americans have always been the people who defied all odds, transcended all dangers, made the most extraordinary sacrifices, and did whatever it took to defend our children, our country, and our freedom. And as we have seen in this chamber tonight, that same strength, faith, love, and spirit is still alive and thriving in the hearts of the American people. Despite the best efforts of those who would try to censor us, silence us, break us, destroy us, Americans are today a proud, free, sovereign, and independent nation that will always be free, and we will fight for it till death. We will never let anything happen to our beloved country, because we are a country of doers, dreamers, fighters, and survivors. Our ancestors crossed a vast ocean, strode into the unknown wilderness, and carved their fortunes from the rock and soil of a perilous and very dangerous frontier. They chased our destiny across a boundless continent. They built the railroads, laid the highways, and graced the world with American marvels like the Empire State Building, the mighty Hoover Dam, and the towering Golden Gate Bridge. They lit the world with electricity, broke free of the force of gravity, fired up the engines of American industry, vanquished the communists, fascists, and Marxists all over the world, and gave us countless modern wonders sculptured out of iron, glass, and steel. We stand on the shoulders of these pioneers who won and built the modern age. These workers who poured their sweat into the skylines of our cities. These warriors who shed their blood on fields of battle and gave everything they had for our rights and for our freedom. Now it is our time to take up the righteous cause of American liberty. And it is our turn to take America's destiny into our own hands and begin the most thrilling days in the history of our country. This will be our greatest era. With God's help, over the next 4 years,
how long's
we
the
are
speech
going
so far?
to lead this nation even higher, and we are going to forge the freest, most advanced, most dynamic, and most dominant civilization
Sounds like a
ever
closing.
to exist on the face of this
That's
earth.
why I'm asking.
We are going to create the highest quality of life, build the safest and wealthiest and healthiest and most vital communities anywhere in the world. We are going to conquer the vast frontiers of science, and we are going to lead humanity into space and plant the American flag on the planet Mars and even far beyond.
Looks like it's about an hour, 40 minutes.
And what was Clinton?
1 hour, 28.
Oh, so he's already 12 minutes over?
I believe so, yeah.
Folks, if you want in on the conversation, if you're here on the two-way platform, please raise your hand.
Discover the unstoppable power of the
I see
American
Haley.
spirit. And we are going to renew unlimited promise of the American dream. Every single day we will stand up and we will fight, fight, fight for the country our citizens believe in and for the country our people deserve.
So we're going to watch the president exit the hall when he goes, and we'll comment on that and listen for audio of him talking to folks. But Dan and I will tell you what we think, and then we'd love to hear from you all. So again, if you want in on the conversation, if you're here on the platform, please raise your hand.
My fellow Americans, get ready for an incredible future, because the golden age of America has only just begun. It will be like nothing that has ever been seen before. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.
So in 1992, when I was covering my first presidential campaign full-time, John King now at CNN, was a reporter at the Associated Press, and stuff would happen that would seem like a big deal, and then something else would happen. You can kill the audio, and but keep the picture up. And John would tell me the first three letters of news are NEW. Okay, so almost nothing President Trump said in the speech was new. The folks in the gallery, some of them are new, at least new to me, but the concept of folks in the gallery is not new. What's new is what the Democrats did. Now, I want to start by saying the Democrats were standing on principle tonight. They believe Donald Trump is a horrible president, that he's destroying the country, that the country has made a horrible mistake by making him president. And despite their leaders asking them not to make a scene, starting with Congressman Green and then with the entire caucus, both House and Senate, we did not see anybody standing on TV. I had two people in the chamber tell me not a single Democrat stood except when the First Lady walked in at the beginning. And this is uniting the Republican Party. The tweets and the emails I've gotten are extraordinary in terms of their condemnation. And I think, most symbolized by that little boy. You can say they didn't stand for Laken Riley's family because they disagree with Donald Trump on immigration. I don't agree with that, but you could say that. But there's no justification for not standing up and applauding that little boy who hugged the Secret Service director after he was sworn in. There's just no countervailing thing there. Now, I think what they'd say is they didn't want to, glorify President Trump in any way. But my suspicion is that most of the country won't care about who stood and who didn't. My suspicion is that this will not be a 5-day story. But my suspicion is that this will cause the Republicans to have a year's worth of material to denigrate the values of the Democratic Party. And it will cause the Democrats to be divided. Because again, I've already received messages from some Democrats who are horrified about what just happened. Dan.
Yeah, I'm going to disagree with you just a little. I don't think their opposition was entirely on principle, because I think if it was, then you sit on your hands on substance and on policy where you have disagreements. You could say on everything. But to your point, whether it was the little boy with cancer, the young man who was admitted to the service academy, like, there are just certain things that common sense and decency tell you should rise and applaud. And I think for the party, we started this morning saying, one, the Democrats should not be a part of the story for their stunts. They're going to be. I don't know, the opposition is just to everything. It's just hatred of Trump. We can't give an inch. He'll take a mile, recognize nothing. And I think, to your point, this will not, last. They'll change the subject here in a couple days. But it makes me shake my head. It's frustrating. And I think the anger in the party...
Dan, sorry, hold on one second. Switch to MSNBC and turn Maddow up at least a little bit while Dan continues. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, I mean, just you said it at the top of the hour. I've heard it, the last couple of days. The anger in the party is starting to boil at the grassroots because they feel just that the party's not doing anything. This was not the place or the way to express that anger. It just
I'll be super curious to see how Jeffries and Schumer explain why they didn't lead folks in standing. Let's listen to Maddow a little bit.
Gas production in the United States hit all-time records under President Joe Biden. For the record, even Doge has never claimed that they have saved hundreds of billions of dollars in savings. The largest items they have claimed to achieve as savings in the U.S. budget have been debunked and they've been taken down, but even they don't falsely claim hundreds of billions of dollars worth of saving. For the record, and this is disgusting, the president made a spectacle out of praising a young man who thus far survived pediatric cancer, as if the president had something to do with that. This was in the midst of him praising Doge. The Doge cuts, among other things, have cut off funding for ongoing research into pediatric cancer. For the record, I will note that Donald Trump did admit in his remarks today explicitly that Elon Musk is the head of Doge. And while that comes as no surprise to anybody who's been following the facts of this matter, that will end up in...
Now, many Democrats did not defend Al Green as he was escorted out. They didn't fight that. Many other Democrats left during this and went and did little videos. But I think that what it showed is that the Democratic Party still has no common sense. They have no ideas, and they have no heart. They couldn't even stand for the most inspiring moments of this speech.
Larry, there were multiple times where he talked about tariffs, and that's obviously a rocky road if you look at the markets over the last couple of days and people talking about it. In that, he said there will be a little disturbance, but we're okay with that.
Yes.
But I heard your reaction when he also talked about tax cuts and expenses for businesses.
Yes, this was such a colossally positive, upbeat. It's like America has no limit speech, and I love the fact that he's unleashing prosperity through tax cuts. In fact, he said we're going to make them retroactive to January 1st on the business investment side.
I mean, Mark, it's interesting because part of the problem is Trump, there were holes in this speech. I mean, forget the stuff that just simply wasn't true. The tariff admissions and the farmers, you're going to pay a little price, this could get bumpy. He clearly is teeing up Social Security. There were things the Democrats, at least Slotkin, could potentially now raise that are going to get overshadowed by what I think it was Dana Perino was saying, which is just the lunacy of the party's inability to recognize anything. And that's maddening.
Switch over to MS just so we make sure we don't miss Slotkin, because we're going to want to watch Senator Slotkin. We're going to want to watch that. So we heard Matt. We know what the left's going to say. Look, for a Trump speech of that length, by my back of the envelope calculation, there were actually fewer lies than the norm. I mean, there were plenty, but I think there were fewer lies than the norm, because a lot of what he did was tell the stories of these people, and I don't know that everything he said about them was true, but those are different kind of lies if he did. I'm really interested to see what Schumer has to say, and Jeffries.
And I'm going to be curious what the governors not in Washington thinking of 2028 say, because if you got an angry base, but your common sense tells you, Bill Clinton sitting in Arkansas would have been there's an opportunity here.
Yeah, I heard from one Democrat who, by his own admission, did not stand, who said it was sad for the country. All right, we're going to bring folks in. I'll just warn you, because I don't want to be accused of being rude. If we see Senator Slotkin, we're going to cut to her right away. So my colleagues will be ready to do that. But Lindsay, welcome in. Tell folks what's on your mind, please. Or remind folks who don't know where you are, and then tell them what's on your mind.
Oh, condolences on Kyrie Irving.
I know. That's funny. I've already started the day with a puffy face and puffy eyes, so it's not good to go into this. And I know probably only a quarter of you will know what that means, but yes, thank you, Dan. Yes, I don't know. You guys were talking about the same thing that I was thinking the entire time. I think I'm always moved by these State of the Unions or whatever this address was called. No matter what side it's on. I don't know that I've ever seen it where literally you don't stand for kid, with a father in the service and then has dealt with all this and then is hugging the Secret Service man. I mean, I don't know, Dan. I'm I think I tweeted you. I'm I feel bad for you guys need some leader. And I'm curious, AOC wasn't there. She said she wasn't going to be there. Why not? Y'all need someone younger. Your party, the purple haired woman, I don't know, Schumer, everyone, you guys need a younger looking and more vibrant and more we've got ideas type of a thing. And I don't know. And again, I'm talking emotionally right now, not as much sense of, but I just was struck by the literal, I don't know whose order that was to say, we're not standing up. Don't stand up, even if you want to stand up. And the fact that there were service members, Lake and Riley's family, Jocelyn Nungary's family, I can't even believe that those people didn't even get one Democrat to stand. And that alone makes me sad. So again, I get emotional about these things. And again, I'm already emotional about today's dealings in the NBA, but I don't get it. And I'm just thinking who is your, and I know you're trying to find it, but who is your leader? I kind of thought you guys were thinking maybe it's AOC, but then she doesn't even show up to be the face of it. The face of what we saw was that the purple-headed Democrat.
Well, I think part of it is since this weekend, the anger in the base is starting to rage, and I think what you have is leaders who in Jeffries and Schumer and others, who don't know what to do, who saw it, and kind of was like, how do we express this? And I just think they made what was, in my opinion, a terrible decision to acknowledge nothing. And even Al Green, basically, it was like, good evening. And he started screaming, right? Like, it wasn't even like a policy issue where it's like.
Hold on, Dan. I'm sorry. We're going to go to Senator Slotkin, who's about to speak. So go ahead and take MS, please.
Because it is a really hard thing to do. Alyssa Slotkin is a very talented Democratic politician. She's speaking in Michigan tonight from a town that voted for her, but also for Trump for president.
I'm honored to have the opportunity to speak tonight. It's late, so I promise to be a lot shorter than what you just watched. I won't take it personally if you've never heard of me. I'm the new senator from the great state of Michigan, where I grew up. I've been in public service my entire life because I happened to be in New York City on 9/11 when the Twin Towers came down. Before the smoke cleared, I knew I wanted to make a life in national security. I was recruited by the CIA and did 3 tours in Iraq alongside the military. In between, I worked at the White House under President Bush and President Obama, 2 very different leaders who both believed that America is exceptional. You can find that same sense of patriotism here in Wyandotte, Michigan, where I'm speaking from tonight. It's a working class town just south of Detroit. President Trump and I both won here in November. It might not seem like it, but plenty of places like this still exist across the United States. Places where people believe that if you work hard and play by the rules, you should do well and your kids should do better.
The Bill Clinton line.
It reminds me of how I grew up. My dad was a lifelong Republican, my mom a lifelong Democrat. But it was never a big deal because we had shared values that were bigger than any one party. We just went through another fraught election season. Americans made it clear that prices are too high and that the government needs to be more responsive to their needs. America wants change, but there's a responsible way to make change and a reckless way. And
Spectacular
we can make
delivery.
that change without forgetting who we are as a country and as a democracy. So that's what I'm going to lay out tonight. Because whether you're from Wyandotte or Wichita, most Americans share 3 core beliefs: that the middle class is the engine of our country, that strong national security protects us from harm, and that our democracy, no matter how messy, is unparalleled and worth fighting for. Let's start with the economy. Michigan literally invented the middle class, the revolutionary idea that you could work at an auto plant and afford the car you were building. That's the American dream. And in order to expand and protect the middle class, we have to do a few basic things. We need to bring down the price of things we spend the most money on: groceries, housing, healthcare. We need to make more things in America with good-paying union jobs and bring our supply chains back home from places like China. We need to give American businesses the certainty they need to invest and create the jobs of the future. And we need a tax system that's fair for people who don't happen to make $1 billion. Look, the president talked a big game on the economy, but it's always important to read the fine print. So, do his plans actually help Americans get ahead? Not even close. President Trump is trying to deliver an unprecedented giveaway to his billionaire friends. He's on the hunt to find trillions of dollars to pass along to the wealthiest in America. And to do that, he's going to make you pay in every part of your life. Grocery and home prices are going up, not down, and he hasn't laid out a credible plan to deal with either of those. His tariffs on allies like Canada will raise prices on energy, lumber, and cars, and start a trade war that will hurt manufacturing and farmers. Your premiums and prescriptions will cost more because the math on his proposals doesn't work without going after your health care. Meanwhile, for those keeping score, the national debt is going up, not down. And if he's not careful, he could walk us right into a recession. And one more thing. In order to pay for his plan, he could very well come after your retirement, the Social Security, Medicare, and VA benefits you worked your whole life to earn. The president claims he won't, but Elon Musk just called Social Security the biggest Ponzi scheme of all time. While we're on the subject of Elon Musk, is there anyone in America who is comfortable with him and his gang of 20-year-olds using their own computer servers to poke through your tax returns, your health information, and your bank accounts? No oversight, no protections against cyber attack, no guardrails on what they do with your private data. We need a more efficient government. You want to cut waste? I'll help you do it. But change doesn't need to be chaotic or make us less safe. The mindless firing of people who work to protect our nuclear weapons, keep our planes from crashing, and conduct the research that finds the cure for cancer, only to rehire them 2 days later, no CEO in America could do that without being summarily fired. Okay, so we've talked about economic security. How about national security? Let's start with the border. As someone who spent my whole career protecting our homeland, every country deserves to know who and what is coming across its border, period. Democrats and Republicans should all be for that. But securing the border without actually fixing our broken immigration system is dealing with the symptom and not the disease. America is a nation of immigrants. We need a functional system keyed to the needs of our economy that allows vetted people to come and work here legally. So I look forward to the president's plan on that. Because here's the thing, today's world is deeply interconnected. Migration, cyber threats, AI, environmental destruction, terrorism. One nation cannot face these issues alone. We need friends in all corners, and our safety depends on it. President Trump loves to say peace through strength. That's actually a line he stole from Ronald Reagan. But let me tell you, after the spectacle that just took place in the Oval Office last week, Reagan must be rolling in his grave. We all want an end to the war in Ukraine, but Reagan understood that true strength required America to combine our military and economic might with moral clarity. And that scene in the Oval Office wasn't just a bad episode of reality TV. It summed up Trump's whole approach to the world. He believes in cozying up to dictators like Vladimir Putin and kicking our friends like the Canadians in the teeth. He sees American leadership as merely a series of real estate transactions. As a Cold War kid, I'm thankful it was Reagan and not Trump in office in the 1980s. Trump would have lost us the Cold War. Donald Trump's actions suggest that in his heart, he doesn't believe we're an exceptional nation. He clearly doesn't think we should lead the world. Look, America is not perfect, but I stand with the majority of Americans who believe we are still exceptional, unparalleled. And I would rather have American leadership over Chinese or Russian leadership any day of the week. Because for generations, America has offered something better. Our security and our prosperity, yes, but our democracy, our very system of government, has been the aspiration of the world. And right now, it's at risk. It's at risk when the president decides you can pick and choose what rules you want to follow, when he ignores court orders and the Constitution itself, or when elected leaders stand by and just let it happen. But it's also at risk when the president pits Americans against each other, when he demonizes those who are different and tells certain people they shouldn't be included. Because America is not just a patch of land between two oceans. We are more than that. Generations have fought and died to secure the fundamental rights that define us. Those rights and the fight for them make us who we are. We're a nation of strivers, risk takers, innovators, and we are never satisfied. That is America's superpower. And look, I've lived and worked in many countries. I've seen democracies flicker out. I've seen what life is like when a government is rigged. You can't open a business without paying off a corrupt official. You can't criticize the guys in charge without getting a knock at the door in the middle of the night. So as much as we need to make our government more responsive to our lives today, don't for one moment fool yourself that democracy isn't precious and worth saving. But how do we actually do that? I know a lot of you have been asking that question. First, don't tune out. It's easy to be exhausted, but America needs you now more than ever. If previous generations had not fought for this democracy, where would we be today? Second, hold your elected officials, including me, accountable. Watch how they're voting. Go to town halls and demand they take action. That's as American as apple pie. Third, organize. Pick just one issue you're passionate about and engage. And doom scrolling doesn't count. Join a group that cares about your issue and act. And if you can't find one, start one. Some of the most important movements in our history have come from the bottom up. In closing, We all know that our country is going through something right now. We're not sure what the next day is going to hold, let alone the next decade. But this isn't the first time we've experienced significant and tumultuous change as a country. I'm a student of history, and we've gone through periods of political instability before. And ultimately, we've chosen to keep changing this country for the better. But every single time, we've only gotten through those moments because of two things: engaged citizens and principled leaders. Engaged citizens who do a little bit more than they're used to doing to fight for the things that they care about, and principled leaders who are ready to receive the ball and do something about it. So thank you tonight for caring about your country. Just by watching, you qualify as engaged citizens. And I promise that I and my fellow Democrats will do everything in our power to be the principled leaders that you deserve. Good night, everyone.
All right, I'm willing to declare that it was the best State of the Union response maybe ever. Super strong. I continue to be hit with messages from disapproving Republicans and disbelieving Democrats, and just not standing for the kid with cancer is the one that seems to really be getting to people. And as I said, there's just no countervailing thing there. There's just no reason not to accept a principled objection to the president and not wanting to stand during his State of the Union. Lindsay, anything you want to say in closing before we move on to other folks?
I actually thought she did a really good job. From someone that's a MAGA conservative, I thought she did a great job. And she said something, and she was talking about, I can't remember what it was. I wrote it, now I can't look at my writing. But I think it might have been the immigration or something, but something that she stood for, that she was agreeing on. And I'm thinking, were you not in the audience? Like, why did you not stand for that when that was talked about? And I know this is pre-written and all that sort of thing, but I still am just thinking, the Dems are shooting themselves in the foot with just the continual, we're standing our ground on doing nothing. So I'll let other people.
Lindsay, thank you. Thank you. Grateful to you. So folks, here's what I want to do. I want to wrap with this. So bring people in, just ask you to say just 2 or 3 sentences, and then Dan will react if he wishes, but I want to get a bunch of folks in before we close, because the worst thing to do would be run straight into the morning meeting, right? We want a little bit of a buffer. So just a couple sentences. And if you go longer, I may well cut you off, even though I don't want to. Professor Kenny, what's on your mind?
Had to unmute. I thought that Slotkin did a good job. It was a very tough night to follow that Trump show. That was a great Trump show, and I just thought he knocked it out of the park. And I still think the optics will be a very tough challenge for the Dems. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Professor Kerry. Kenny used some semicolons in his 3 sentences, but they were short. Haley, welcome in. Tell us what's on your mind. What did you think of the night?
Just 2 basic things. I thought Alyssa Slotkin has more charisma than Kamala Harris does in her pinky. Like that 20 minutes. I think she'd be great choice in the next coming years. Also, I think it's really ridiculous how the women decided to wear pink and then decided not to stand for anything that had to do with women's sports and male, female. I thought that's going to bite them in the butt. Horrible optics. And it angered me.
Yeah. Okay, Haley, thank you. Doug, welcome in.
Hi, thanks for taking it. I think Trump is an incredible performer. And I think that the Democrats are shooting themselves in the foot if they can't at least think about ways to compromise, to work with him on something, and to say everything that Trump does is bad is just problematic for them.
Yeah, Doug, you made a point that we haven't made. That he was very good. President was very good. He just was. Dan, I'm gonna turn it over to you to host while I relocate. So take over, and I'll be back.
All right. Well, you made it easy because I see Ray and Robert have both come in here. Gentlemen, Ray, we'll give you the floor first here.
Thanks, Dan. Keeping with Mark's desire, I think that tonight calls into question whether or not Jeffries and Schumer can be effective leaders. I'd have much more to say, but that's my 2 sentences.
Robert?
Yeah, all I would say in that regard is, I mean, I worked for the Trump campaign, etc. It was long and it droned on and there was nothing new. But the kid getting inducted into the Secret Service was worth the whole thing. I would say with regard to Senator Slotkin, and I hate to take the under on this, but man, I mean, I was there. Reagan talked to Gorbachev. She just, to anybody who knows anything, come on. I mean, you got to talk to your enemies. It's just the way it works.
Yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, that I could argue with, but I hear your concept, and he took heat at the time for talking to Gorbachev, primarily from the right, actually.
And I hate to divulge my age, but even Nixon, they have the expression, only Nixon can go to China, right? I mean, he talked to Mao, so I don't know.
All right. Fair point. I don't know, two-way production team, that I have the ability to bring people in. So if you guys are awake, I'm gonna just go in the order that it is appearing on my screen. James, I'm gonna mispronounce your last name. Slight. Can we call on James or unmute him? James, there you are. Oh, hold on, James. You're muted. There he is. You're unmuted.
Can you hear me?
We can. James, hit it.
Okay, so one extra sentence. Dan, you have the greatest sports combination of Mets and Giants that exists. So there we go with that.
And the Knicks, who had a tough loss tonight. But yep.
Yes.
Okay.
And so I think the president's speech was very good. I think the Democratic reaction in the chamber is just a clear sign that I don't believe they have an understanding of how to deal with the issues that are important to people right now, and listening to you would be helpful. And I thought Senator Slotkin's response was delivered well. However, again, tough situation, easily refutable. And again, exactly. I still don't understand what is the Democrat position on these issues that they seem to be on the other side of. So that's it. And Dan, you got a standing invite to our tailgate at Giants games. So I'll say,
I love tailgating. All right.
Listen, we win the tailgate.
James, thank you, James. Thank you. All right, I'm back enforcing the rules. Robert, did you already go?
I did go, and I would just have to say, I've said everything I need to say. Have a good night, gents.
All right, Robert, thank you.
He said he's voting for Slotkin in 28. It's over. Yeah.
All right, Tim, welcome in.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Good. How are you, sir?
I'm all right, but listen, I maybe I'm the only person who thinks like this, but for a platform that's all about, rightfully so, the presumption of grace, nobody's talking about, despite the fact that yes, it was a great performance from President Trump, he did not exhibit any grace to the Democrats. And in fact,
he did.
There was one time, and I wanted to get, I would love to come back on tomorrow and ask Sean, because there was one time, but this really is for Dan. Every time that he would bring up one of the points that the Democrats should have applauded for, like immigration, and certainly, of course, the young, the kid who beat cancer and getting inducted in the Secret Service, of course, that was a wonderful moment. But on the other standard points, he would always piggyback it up front with a denigration of President Biden or the Democrats themselves.
Yep.
And I was wondering if you saw that as a tactic that he has just kind of perfected. He did that in the Oval Office with Zelensky. And for me, as somebody who has no love lost for the Democrats and actually do support President Trump, it makes my blood boil when I see that absence of grace from our president. Yeah. And I want to support him so badly, but that kind of monkey business is part of the reason that we are so divided and so polarized. And so I'm wondering to you, Dan, and also you, Mark, of course, because I do think, Mark, you let him off the hook a little bit. But Dan, how do the Democrats respond? Because if they applaud, then they're basically saying, yes, we applaud that Joe Biden's the worst president in American history, along with immigration. It's a clever tactic that I think he applies. And I'm curious what your thoughts are. And how do you combat that?
Mark, do you want to?
Well, so Tim, you're right. And I failed to say two things initially about Donald Trump's performance. One is what you just said, which is he certainly didn't come in with any grace towards the Democrats. And the other was his performance was extraordinary. I mean, going that length at that level of performance with humor and emotion and talking talking about all the people in the first lady spots, it was incredible. On the first point, again, this country since the Bork hearings has descended into partisanship and polarization and political fighting in a way that both sides have bloody hands. Okay. Joe Biden, go back and look at his final State of the Union address. He didn't extend a lot of grace to the Republicans. And Donald Trump they attempted to assassinate him, and they indicted him, and they investigated him. And he knew in advance that the Democrats, I don't think he could know that they wouldn't applaud anything. But as he said at the very beginning, they give him credit for nothing. He lies, he exaggerates his accomplishments, but he has accomplished some things, and they give him credit for nothing. So is it still incumbent upon him to show grace? It would be nice if he could and would, but is it understandable in the context again of Joe Biden's last State of the Union that he wouldn't? Unfortunately, it's understandable. But you're right. He should be a bigger person, but I can't be surprised that he didn't. Both because the kind of person he is, even if you just want to say he's a counterpuncher, he should turn the other cheek, and he should use this opportunity to be a bigger person and unite the country, and he didn't. But I can't say I'm surprised he didn't. Dan.
Yeah, I think, Tim, unfortunately, had the Democrats not pulled some of the stunts they did, one of the things that we would be talking about is like the Pocahontas shot. I mean, some of that stuff is unpresidential. I mean, just to sit there and point at Elizabeth Warren and call her Pocahontas, like, I get it at campaign rallies, but you would hope this isn't the State of the Union, but ostensibly it was, that he would perform better. And as you say, that is the side that we heard all last year from voters was a part of Trump they hate, right? I mean, how many people would come on two-way and say, if he'd just keep his mouth shut and not be so childish, like, I could 100% vote for him. But when he pulls that, I get concerns. But, when we do what we do and Al Green does what he did, I wonder how much of that was planned. And I said it, I think, Mark, to you, or I texted it to you. I thought Trump was getting angry early on as the Democrats were doing this. And I wonder how much of like his, taunts and boasts and points and cheap shots was like, to Mark's point, I'm a counterpuncher. You think you're going to embarrass me? Watch this. Right. I got the microphone and you don't. So.
Well, and again, I hope I'm perhaps reading too much into this. But I wonder, President Trump is a master at winning the day when it comes to the media. And I just don't think it's a coincidence that before every achievement, he made sure it was backstopped with a position about the Democrats or President Biden, where, I mean, what do you think, Dan? Like, if you were sitting there in the chamber and they said, President Biden's the worst president in history and the open borders, but yet we just brought immigration down, would you stand and cheer, or would you feel conflicted?
I mean, of course not. I'm not saying that they should jump up and be little lapdog and poodle dogs, but you just need to use some common sense that, again, and we all keep going back to it, the boy with cancer, the young man who got into the service academy, like, I mean, I lost track of how many kind of like sweet, adorable, heart-touching moments there were. And everyone at home probably said, oh, that's sweet. It's a nice story. If that's your emotion, you should stand.
Let me say this, and then Tim, I greatly appreciate your contribution, but we're going to move on to others. But
sure,
I'll say this: the Democrats' criticism of Donald Trump, that he engages in aberrant and disgusting behavior, is a fair critique, and you could cite a million examples for it. To not stand for that little boy is aberrant and disgusting behavior. So they not only do they lose the high ground, but they shock the conscience, I hope, of many Democrats. And I know some Democrats who texted me. It's just, I understand that theatrics may be caught up in the moment, but for no Democrat to stand applaud and turn to his or her colleagues and say, like, come on, including the leaders, is aberrant and disgusting. And again, they want to say that Donald Trump has destroyed America by taking his aberrant and disgusting behavior and imposing it on America. They did it tonight. They did it tonight. He's the president. He's in charge, etc. But they knew what was happening in the chamber. And they had to have read the list of people who were coming. So it's not great. Tim, thank you. Very grateful to you for raising that and for pointing out where I was wrong. I apologize for muting you there, Tim. All right. Leonard, you're on. Go ahead, Leonard. You're unmuted. Nope, now you're muted. Try again, Leonard.
Oh.
Yes, sir. Nope. Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
You're good, Leonard.
Okay. I'm from Manassas, Virginia. I got 2 points. First, on the senator from Michigan who did the rebuttal, I wonder if she voted for closure for the girls in sports or guys in girls sports.
I don't think she
Or
did.
if-
'Cause
or-
I don't think any Democrat did.
Well, no, but two didn't vote at all, as it did the 2 Republicans didn't vote, and I couldn't find anywhere where the 4 were who didn't vote. And my second question was, when Senator Warren, she kept on texting the whole time she was on the thing while he was talking, so she was also not being very polite. But
Leonard,
likewise,
what if I told you she was texting me?
well, she didn't text me, so it doesn't count.
Okay. All right. Leonard, thank
All
you.
right, I'm looking here to see if she voted. If Slotkin is one of the.
All right, Roger. 2 or 3 sentences. Tell us what you thought after you.
He may be right. She may be one of the ones who didn't vote, and I'm not sure why.
She might have been practicing. Roger, go ahead. Yes, sir.
Calling in from Idaho. Long time, first time. I think number one, off the rip, Trump did a great job. Really enjoyed the speech. Slotkin, I think it was funny that she claimed he stole a line from Reagan when she just used one from Clinton.
Yeah.
And then to say that he doesn't believe America is exceptional after watching that speech, I don't know how you could draw that conclusion. And then lastly, no strong counterpoints from her. The Democrats still are messaging, we're anti-Trump, but what are you for?
Yeah.
And Dan, I enjoyed your article where you talked about bringing spending or waste, fraud, and abuse into the light where it's Republicans' pet project. But I think the problem with that is still the same thing, that you want to make them hurt politically, like the Republicans are hurting the left politically, but it's all optics. It's not for the good of the country because it's the right thing to do to cut waste, fraud, and abuse. So I think the Democrats, until they figure that out, it'll be a little while for them.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Roger.
sorry.
Go ahead, Dan.
I agree with you. I mean, I think at its core, the problem is the Democrats don't believe there's a problem there, but the country does. And so they keep making statements that, of course, we support cutting spending, but then to your point, they don't really offer any, basic concrete examples or efforts to do it.
Hector.
Hey guys, I came in late, but watching it, Dan, you're killing me. My heart was hurting for you. You looked very upset. So I was just kind of wondering, what were you thinking before tonight, and did it affect you why you kind of looked really upset?
I was hoping the party wouldn't embarrass itself, and unfortunately, I think it did embarrass itself. So we've talked about it now several times. There were several moments when I was kind of disgusted, but I still love the party, and hopefully this is the low. From here, we start to go up.
Hector, thank you. Appreciate it. Tom, go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, guys, or good evening. How's it going? I'm from Somerset, New Jersey. 2 quick things. I felt it was disgusting what was done tonight. These people are public servants. There are servants to the public, yet they didn't stand for the little boy, the gentleman going to West Point. I just couldn't believe that. I mean, there's certain lines you don't cross.
Yes, sir.
And those are the lines you don't cross.
Yes, sir.
Right? Regardless of rude, whatever, that's it. On Slavic, I felt her delivery was great, but I thought her content was a little bit of the fear mongering, but that might have been the way she was coached or something like that. But I thought she was a great orator. So I thought her delivery was fantastic.
Thank you, Tom. I agree with your points. Tony, go ahead.
With Slotkin, I'd like to know what democracy she's been to that have fallen. And then with Trump, I love the line about not needing a border bill. All you needed was a new president. I thought that was a good moment.
Yeah, Tony, thank you.
Yeah,
Chris.
It's fascinating to me. We're saying that the Democrats are without leadership right now, but they were lockstep in unity with not standing up. So somebody has got a tight. They're running a tight ship.
Yeah, you're right about that.
That's a good point.
Can't wait to see, as I keep saying, I can't wait to see what the leaders say. Thank you, Chris. Aaron, go ahead.
The girls had to go to bed, but I had a lot of explaining to do about Al Green there at the beginning. And then thought Trump did good, but I'm really wanting to see concrete numbers on Doge, to be honest. So
it's an issue. They're not what they say they are.
Yep. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you. I was surprised Musk didn't get more of a spotlight. Mr. Shaw, welcome in.
Thank you. Yeah, love it. Coming from St. Louis, I just think details for both sides. The Trump, what does he mean by the space program, all that stuff. But also the Democrats, they were a lot more detailed, and I'd be curious to see if they could maybe keep that kind of thing together and focus on that, and maybe try to find something in the weeds to find a way out. I don't know. It's hard, but great speech overall. Thanks.
Great point. Thank you, Mitchell. Closing thoughts from Mitchell.
Yep. So Trump is the coroner. He's not the murderer of American civility. He just comes by and points out that it was dead already. I think Slotkin had wonderful delivery. Honestly, the ending part I think was great, talking about getting involved. In some sense, I think that's the ethos of the two-way platform. So in that sense, couldn't agree more. It's just that I think she hit on things that the Dems didn't stand for, right? I mean, clearly things that are 80-20 issues. She said we needed change, yet the Democrat Party there in the room can't stand for the obvious ones, right? So I think a lot of soul searching still to be done with Dan when you take over the lead of the Democrat Party. Good luck.
Thank you, Mitchell. Brian.
Hey, guys. I thought Slotkin's response, she had three major points, and I wrote them down: middle class, defense, and democracy. Right? The Dems are going to have to put some meat on that bone. I'm center right, never Trumper, and they lost me with the Biden cover up. And I need other choices, please.
Okay, Brian, thank you. Jacqueline.
So I missed the Slotkin speech, but what stood out to me about Donald Trump's speech that surprised me and didn't seem like his usual self was that he had the missile defense shield policy proposal. And I thought that would probably increase military spending a lot in a way that brings us back to the Cold War. And that disappointed me, but though I was relieved that Ukraine and Russia might have peace.
Okay, thank you very much. Great points.
You know, Mark,
Appreciate
I was going back and forth at one point and didn't pay attention to every second. Did he mention Israel? I don't
remember it.
I don't think he did. That's an interesting omission.
Yeah.
I guess Trump logo in the Red Sea or whatever is on hold.
You know, as you know, well, let me ask you this. How much did he mention China?
Yeah. Well, but I wonder, because he's a little underwater, big time underwater on that issue in the Middle East.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, the peace plan seems to be teetering. So it's interesting he didn't try to soften it up.
Yeah. Yeah. But, just as you know, in these speeches, he can't do everything. But I agree. China and Israel probably worthy of at least a mention. Ken.
So, Mark, I only watched this. I've seen a lot of State of the Unions. I've hated them all. I watched this hoping it would be different. And it wasn't. It was boring. It was all rhetoric. It was all showmanship on both sides of the aisle. Trump did his showmanship better. But I don't care. The only interesting thing was the from Zelensky, which was
Ken,
leaked
Ken, give
earlier.
Ken, give us an example of something a president could do that would reach your standard of State of the Union delight.
There isn't nothing. There is nothing. I didn't even like watching Reagan. And there are many
how
better
about
speakers than Reagan.
how about good jokes, or when Bill Clinton
Good
teleprompter
jokes would help. Good jokes.
Yeah.
Reagan had that. Trump
Yeah.
is not the funniest guy on the planet.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Ken. Grateful to you. So he wants Seinfeld to do the State of the Union to
I'm up
listen
for
there.
that.
Dan, so grateful to you for spending 4.5 days or whatever this was with us. Thank you. Hogan was a no-show, and we'll have to decide whether there's some sort of discipline meted out for that. Grateful to everybody who participated. Dan and I will be back in a few hours for the morning meeting. And then tomorrow, Megan McCain's happy hour at 5 Eastern and 2A tonight at 6 Eastern. And then Thursday, remember, we've got our special after 2A tonight on tariffs, private 2A for members of the community with David Bonson. So look for the links for all of those. We'll have more to say about this. I'm gonna do a little bit of pondering about what I think, and maybe revise and extend my remarks at 9 a.m. So we look forward to seeing you all then. Have a good night, good evening, and see you in a few hours for the morning meeting. Good night.